Welcome in, everyone. Can you hear me? Why is my mouth not moving? Hold on. Hold on a quick second. Hello? There we go. Now my mouth's moving. Sometimes it just does that, I guess. But, I'm supposed to be doing chores. And by supposed to be, I mean I'm forcing myself to do chores. I don't have to do chores. But I don't want to do chores, and so I was like, you know what I haven't done? I haven't streamed, and I should stream. And we need to finish this game. It's been 3 years since we're still on this game, and it's been 3 years. So, and we're starting off with whatever Baxter's talking about. I have no idea what Baxter's talking about. It's been five ever. Maybe we're close to the adult stage. And then that'll take me, what, another 2 years? Hopefully not. Even I know how to do that much. What are you talking about, sir? With everything together in one bowl, you started to stir it together using a wooden spoon. Hold on. There we go. While you were mixing the batter, Baxter diligently placed 36 miniature paper cupcake liners into the tins. Oh yeah, we're making cupcakes for my mom's, but why? Why? Is it Mother's Day? Once he was finished, he came and peered over your shoulder into the bowl. Is it ready? You give a firm nod. You had the batter at a good, even consistency, moderately thick while still being runny enough to pour. How are we meant to get into the trays? A spoon, perhaps? Girl, just pour it. Who cares if it's messy? A serving spoon would do fine, although a rubber spatula would come in handy for getting the last bits of batter out of the bowl. Use your fingers, they're your mom. Do you guys do gross stuff like that? There's this one creator that I've seen do stuff, and she's so gross, like health code violation. And I love her though. What is her name? It's something. She lives in Las Vegas. Not like that matters, but she like makes food for her friends sometimes, and then like her hair will get in the food, or she'll like use her like fingers and stuff, and I'm like, for my mom maybe I would do that, but for a friend, no, I would not feed them my hair food. I don't care if the hair has just like grazed it. I am not feeding that to my friends. Like, she's so gross. I love her though. She paints, if you like need to know who she is, she's the lady who like paints her bathroom for like every holiday. I just don't remember her name right now. It's like Serena or something like that. Look her up. She's Serena Neal, I think her name is. Oh my gosh. Ooh. And she makes like, she doesn't make Legos, but she does like Lego videos. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with her lately. She's the white girl of the month for me. A serving spoon would do fine, although a rubber spatula would come in handy for letting the last bits of batter out of the bowl. You picked them both out of the utensil drawer. Portioning out the batter into the cupcake tins was where things started to get more involved. You took care of filling the 2 tins you brought from home, while Baxter made the effort on his own tin by himself. I mean, good for him. What are we making these cupcakes for? You see, this is what happens when I stop in the middle of doing things. You managed to get the batter sitting evenly in all the cases without spilling. Baxter's pan didn't fare so well, however. His Baxter, stop. Stop. Portions were uneven, and some of the mixture had dribbled off the spoon and onto the tray, which had to be wiped down. Okay, it's his first time making cupcakes. Who am I to judge him on making cupcakes when it's his first time? As someone who doesn't bake. Like, I think the last thing I baked, I think I've only made like, no, that's not true. I helped my friend make cookies from scratch before. But the one thing that I made from scratch before were lemon squares. That was the last thing I made from scratch. And it was a struggle and a half. Because I don't bake, I don't cook. I don't do things. I try my hardest not to. That's not true. It's difficult. I don't like the heat. I'm very heat sensitive. Oh, Lord. He mumbled a quiet apology, clearly embarrassed, but you squashed it with an encouraging grin. You performed his duty and you were grateful for the help. Baxter cautiously lifted the trays one at a time into the hot oven, placing two onto the top shelf and sliding the last one in underneath. Then he checked the instructions again and set a timer on his phone. There were enough cake batter left to fill another 2 trays at a rough estimate, but the 3 in the oven were all you had, so you covered the bowl with shrink wrap and put it in the fridge. But what are you gonna do with the rest of the cake batter? It's gonna go to waste? Not me stuttering over here because I'm concerned about the cake batter. At this point, it was nearly 11 o'clock, but Baxter had remained perky and chipper as the night wore on. It doesn't come as a surprise at this point, since you were full well he was a proven night owl. While the cakes were in the oven, you had to take care of the frosting next. Are we making that from scratch too? Because no, you're getting store-bought. I guess we have to make it from scratch. It's 11 o'clock at night. I mean, there are some grocery stores that are open, but there are like super centers, and this is a small town, so never mind. You can remember a recipe without any trouble. I could? That doesn't sound like me. Ma was right. It was one of the easier parts of making a cake, all told. You recited the necessary ingredients aloud. All I know is that you need powdered sugar for it. That's all I know. Now, as you went down the list, Baxter foraged around on the countertop and handed the named items to you, which you added to the fresh mixing bowl. Then he dove under the counter for a moment and popped back up, sporting a handheld electric whisk. You inserted the 2 metal beaters into the mixture, switched to low setting, then you turned the whisk on. Once the mixture was settled, you gradually upped the speed. Once again, Baxter was rather awestruck by the ease with which you handled the process. He'd been given the electric whisk a nervous side eye ever since it was brought out. What's the electric... Oh, a beater? I wouldn't consider that an electric whisk. Unless he's talking about, like, the frothers. But I've had one of those. Why is he being suspicious of it? Huh. If I had been given charge of that device, a dusting of sugar would have been the least of our concerns. We might have spent the entire night scraping cream cheese off the walls. You chuckled and continued to smooth out the spread. While you doted on the bowl, Baxter had been peeking around the side of you with interest, leaning in close in order to get a better look. It was a touch closer than might be considered strictly polite, and there was something there was something about the proximity of his body that made it harder than usual to concentrate on the task at hand. Ooh. You certainly didn't mind per se, but still, you were operating dangerous equipment here. I wouldn't consider that dangerous unless you have long hair. You could easily pick out the smell of his aftershave. You swallowed. At some point he concluded that he was crowding you overmuch, so he took a few small steps to a safer distance. He sort of lounged against the far counter, trying to make it appear as though he'd always intended to do so. Baxter worked quite hard behind the scenes to give off the impression that everything he did was totally effortless. Maybe it came from being a dancer. Okay. Sure. You pondered these things during the tedious mixing process. It was so cute. Of course you already knew Baxter was pretty adorable. It wasn't too long before you had the frosting looking halfway decent and turned the whisk off. Baxter took that as his cue to come back over, smiling pleasantly. Thanks for taking care of that, Princeton. You're welcome. Come on, it was a team effort. You're welcome. That was nothing. I eat frosting for breakfast. I actually used to eat frosting for breakfast when I was a little kid. I don't know what it is about eating sweets for breakfast when you're a child. It just does something to you. You smiled in return. You sighed with relief. Like, I wasn't allowed to, but I did it anyway. As most things in my life. I was never allowed to do things, but I did it anyway. Thank goodness it was taken care of. You shot him a cheeky thumbs up. It was a team effort, buddy. You were too kind. I suppose we can say I provided emotional support then. I mean, you helped me put the ingredients in the bowl. I would say that's a team effort. I originally planned to put the frosting in the fridge while we wait for the cakes to finish, so that might be too difficult to spread later on. What do you think? I mean, you should probably keep the frosting a little cool. You'd been about to say the same thing as... So you merely nodded in approval. It was nice to see that he was beginning to figure things out. You know what? What do I know? I've never made handmade frosting before, and I never will. At this point, you were inclined to relax a bit. Like, I'd rather buy my own cake, which we're getting a cake for me Saturday. My birthday's coming up. If you didn't know, if you care, if you wanted to know, even with the frosting taken care of and the comforting smell of the baking in the air, I'm excited about this cake. Like, you have no idea how excited about this cake I am. Like, I could honestly get this cake anytime I want, but getting this cake is just such a treat for me. Like, I feel like I deserve it because I grew up a year. I survived a year. But did I really? Technically, yes. Baxter was in the mood to keep himself busy. In fact, your success with the cakes, however relative that success might be, had put him in an industrious frame of mind. You watched as he cheerfully donned a pair of rubber gloves, black, of course, and began to fill the sink with water in order to wash the bowls and other baking equipment. I mean, be proactive. Be proactive. While the faucet was running, he also took out some clothes and surface cleaner. It says cloths. I was really about to be like, he took out some clothes? Is he about to wash his clothes in the sink? But that says cloths. Cloths and surface cleaner with the intent of wiping down the countertops wherever there were traces of cake mix, powder, and batter. You elected to help out with the cleaning. You left him to it. You were really worn out. You left him to it. He seemed to be entertaining himself. You know what? I'll help. This isn't my house. I'll help. He gave you a silent smile of gratitude. What does it not being my house have to do with me helping? You're probably wondering. Because I feel more inclined to help people when I'm not at my own house. Like, if it's just, I have to do it anyway if it's my house, but, like, if it's not my house, I'm like, oh, I should definitely be helping them. He gave you a silent smile of gratitude as you picked up one of the rags and the bottle cleaner. You didn't exchange words. There was no need. I didn't take my allergy medication today. I was like, something's off. It's because I'm sniffling. I'm so sorry about my sniffles. Suddenly there was a bright, tinkling sound. I could go take it now, but what good would it do? It jolted you out of whatever you thought you'd be having. Baxter's hand went to his back pocket. The time on his phone hadn't ran out. The cakes are done. He was genuinely excited by the prospect, hastily jabbing at his screen to turn off the alarm, then grabbing a nearby pair of oven mitts with the pictures of cats on. Aww. They must have belonged to the owner of the condo rather than Baxter himself. What if they did, though? What if he just liked cats? What if he liked tuxedo cats? Since the fabric was a deep red color, The cats were all black and white, though. You suppose that counted. Maybe they are his mittens, then. Carefully, cautiously, he eased the 3 baking pans out of the oven, placing them one by one on the granite counter. I mean, I wouldn't place them on. Now, you don't have a cooling rack? I say as I don't have a cooling rack. We should get a cooling rack. I'm gonna look up cooling racks. Maybe I need one. I do need one. He even recalled which had gone in first, second, and third, and removed them in proper order. The cakes looked good. They'd risen up uniformly, and the color was a nice rich chocolate brown. Boo! They hadn't dried out either. You could see a faint moist sheen on the surface. You chimed up as you admired your handiwork. Do you have anything to go underneath the pans to protect the counter? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, a cooling rack. Cooling... I'm literally looking this up. Cooling rack. For cooking and bacon. Why are they so expensive? Oh, these aren't. Well... Let me just... Okay, now I can pay attention. Oh, that's a good point. I don't think there's anything here, though. It should be fine, hopefully. The stone is real, not a veneer or less sturdy material. Just because you grew up rich doesn't mean you need to tell me everything, okay? I feel like that was still ruining the granite. That's just me, though. That's just me. Baxter stared down at the cakes, his face thoughtful. Then he removed the oven gloves. Why did I stutter over oven? The oven gloves, folded them on the countertop. That's his tabletop. And pinched the bridge of his nose. Eyes closed. I dread to ask, but how many of these were we supposed to make? I've only now realized I've never asked Terry how much food she needs. Oh, we're not making these for our mom? Oh, yeah. Miranda's birthday party. Oh, you hadn't thought of that. Well, it happened decided you'd bring cupcakes. Terry had never said anything about quantity. She simply wanted another dessert besides her cake. You explained as much to Baxter. He breathed in through his nose, then sighed deeply and opened his eyes. Perhaps that's because Terry doesn't know herself. That's understandable. This whole party was extempore to begin with. I've never seen this word before. What does extempore mean? I gotta look up this word now. Extempore. Okay, that they're giving me something spoken, performed, or exposed on the spur of the moment without special advance or preparation of notes. Oh, wow. You learn a new word every day. I do hope 36 is enough. How many people are at this birthday party is the real question. Even with the spare batter, we don't have time to prepare another batch. Not if they're to cool and be frosted before the event. What do you mean? Can't we just frost them now? I'm so confused, Baxter. Do we have a cake carrying tray with us? What's happening here? We really are underprepared. I must extend my thanks once again that you brought your family's spare tins over. Otherwise, the crowd would be fighting over a paltry 12 cupcakes. Thanks, Moms, for letting us have them. That was lucky. Speaking of your family, you checked the clock on your phone to see how long ago you bade them farewell. Well, it already gone past midnight. You couldn't believe it got so late, and you couldn't even start the frosting until the cakes had cooled, which might take another hour or more. You put the phone down, glancing in Baxter's direction. You were acutely aware he was doing you a favor, more than one for that matter. And you didn't want to further impose if it be an issue. You decided to put the question to him directly, as much as you were able. What would be worse, staying up even later to finish everything tonight, or getting up bright and early tomorrow morning? Baxter scrunched up his face, his boyish nose wrinkling in distaste. Waking early, no question. Of course you knew he'd say that before you even asked, but you wanted to give him the choice. It's fine, don't worry. I will stay awake as long as needed to see this endeavor through. I understand that I was signing up for when I offered to help, more or less. Though I honestly don't mind if you head home and get some rest. I can idle around until the cakes have set, and then, the rest. Until today, I'd never baked before, and by extension, I am 99% certain I've never frosted a cake before either, but I can manage. See, you think you can manage, but you can't, because I have to show you. He cleared his throat, crossing his arms with finality. The point is, I don't intend to quit until the end. The bitter, but hopefully not bitter in taste, end. Well, after such a rousing speech, I can't exactly abandon you. I guess someone needs to make sure you don't make a mess of things. I could never make you do all that by yourself, Baxter. You sighed, somewhat resigned. You weren't getting out of this either. You nodded firmly, resolved to stay and help. I guess someone needs to make sure you don't make a mess of things. I appreciate it greatly, both your continued company and your help. We'll get through this with, what was it? The awesome and terrible power of teamwork? Bow down. Of course, all hell. The commitment made, you decided to put the cakes in the freezer for a short while to help speed the cooling process along. Now the cupcakes are going to taste like freezer, and I hate that. The 3 tins fit snugly inside, nothing left to do but wait. I wonder how Terry's cake is coming along. This has been nice. This is actually pretty fun. Floating around, unsure of what to do now. This has been nice. I agree. It's been a delightful experience on the whole. Baxter pressed firmly against the freezer door, making positively sure that it had shut. Little tangent, but it's related. Our Lives Now and Forever comes out sometime this year, and I realize I'm gonna have to play that. I don't have to, but I have to. Oh well. Oh well, c'est la vie. Baxter pressed firmly against the freezer door, making positively sure that it had shut. He then tapped at his phone, setting another timer before glancing in your direction. Since we need to wait a while longer, why don't we take this opportunity to rest? You're welcome to use either the couch or the chair in the living room. I'll take the couch, thank you. His voice was sympathetic, laced with care. You've been tired earlier. After all this extra work, you were exhausted. I'll take a rest on the couch then. Maybe I'll just stretch my legs in the lounge for a bit. I'll take the couch. Of course. Please go right ahead. Oh, before you go. He held up a hand, gesturing vaguely about. I'd almost forgotten where we were. I'll join you shortly, but I can bring you anything refreshing to drink. But can I bring you anything refreshing to drink? I was about to get myself a little something. What are you having? He tapped a finger to his chin and made a non-committal sound. You'll find out soon enough. This is rather unusual, you privately observed. Baxter would never normally dodge a direct question. He was always straightforward, even unnecessarily so, as Cove might say. Why are we bringing Cove into this? Cove does not exist anymore. Oh well, no use losing sleep over it. Not when you were losing so much already tonight. You made your way into the sitting area, making yourself at home on the generously sized couch. It was unexpectedly comfortable for one so fashionable. I would consider this couch fashionable, but go off. The house was built on an open plan to the extent that you could see Baxter over in the kitchen where you were waiting. He opened one of the cabinets, took out something that looked suspiciously like one of the plastic champagne flutes you and Terry had brought earlier today. Except that one was real glass. Ooh. From the fridge, he fetched a large green bottle from the side shelf, which you hadn't spotted before. You needed a screw cork off the top. Not him drinking alcohol. You're not old enough to drink alcohol yet in the America. Out of it poured a fizzy liquid, pale golden color. Wait, is that... Actually, why are you drinking real champagne this late? What are you celebrating? You're actually drinking in front of our newborn cupcakes? I'm gonna say this one. What is that, sparkling cider? Are you even old enough to drink that? Why am I not surprised? I should have got sparkling cider. We were at the grocery store the other day. Correct. The reply came immediately without so much as a glance in your direction. Bad boy over here. He had no compunction. That's a word I haven't seen before either. About what he was doing. Can I try some? I think that's a bad idea. Whatever. Is champagne even tasty? I feel like champagne's not even that tasty. You found out his decision. He was too reckless. You smiled at yourself and shook your head. Oh, Baxter. Oh, Baxy. He carefully navigated his way out of the kitchen and perched himself on one of the chairs. Whose champagne is that? Where'd you get that from? Let's keep this between us, alright? His lips curled mischievously. Who am I gonna tell? But look at me, drinking on the job. What a shameful way to start my new party planning occupation. Pro bono, naturally. Cheers, Princeton. He took a long, slow sip of his champagne, closing his eyes and savoring the taste. He smacked his lips and let out a low of enjoyment. That hits the spot. Much better than that thing they called Baby Bellini. Though you hadn't admitted it, the laid-back manner with which he handled such an illicit topic was rather beguiling. Maybe you had a bit of a soft spot for the bad boys. I do. I do have a soft spot for the bad boys. Unfortunately. I blame school. Your thoughts snagged on something Baxter had said a moment ago. His joke about drinking while on the clock. In a certain sense, you reasoned, it wasn't so much of a joke after all. Baxter had readily committed to helping you and Terry organize Miranda's party at an extremely short notice. He dedicated himself to the endeavor not just today, but tomorrow as well. All of that for a group of people he'd only recently come to know. Why are you trying so hard for people you just met? Baxter, be honest, are you really enjoying yourself with the party stuff? Hey, Baxter, thanks for being so helpful with all this. I would probably say this. So this party prep, pretty unique experience, huh? I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, Baxter. Girl, thank you for helping us. Baxter didn't meet your gaze, his eyes wandering around the room as he gently swirled the champagne in his glass. He took another slow sip before answering, intentionally dramatic. You're welcome, Princeton. Although I feel very strongly that your gratitude is unnecessary. If anything, I should be thanking you for making me a part of it. I couldn't have devised a more pleasant way to spend my time here, even if I tried. And to be frank, I have tried. I didn't come to Sunset Bird totally devoid of any plans or ideas. You and your friends have invited me to participate in an event with great significance to you. It's a profound gesture to show to a relative stranger. When it's over, I'm long gone from here. I hope you all can look back on this party for years to come, maybe for the rest of your lives, and treasure the memory. No, don't say that. Don't leave me. If I'm part of the memory, then that is satisfaction enough. But perhaps I'm in danger of giving my contribution too much credit. He was smiling, but it was muted, distant thing. It was a muted, distant thing, like a car headlamp seen a long way off, ready to turn a corner. It felt akin to a farewell, even though he wasn't leaving yet. The glimmer was gone as his eyes met yours over the rim of his champagne flute. Besides, I'm on vacation. I have nothing but day after day of generous free time. It would be silly to begrudge its being used, especially if it's easier for me. This party is only a party from my perspective, which means I can put my head back and simply bask in the occasion with the highs and the lows. For you and your friends, this is important. It has weight. I have to say, I'm curious about the situation. You and Terry are both determined to make this a big event, but for all that, it seems a rather one-off affair. Not wishing to sound critical, but if you were in the irregular habit of throwing each other parties, I would have expected better preparation for, well, the preparation. Is there something about the specific birthday that warranted such a special affair? You found yourself taken aback by this. It wasn't like you hadn't thought about it either. You'd been doing as much earlier tonight. But what with the rush to get all the ingredients and baking the cakes, you'd been distracted since then. All at once, the feelings you suppressed bumbled back up to the surface. Slowly, hesitantly, you began to talk. This might be the last birthday we get to celebrate together. I've known Cove basically my whole life. Terry and Randy not as long. Still, they're important to me. Soon we'll be grown up, we'll head off to different places in life. And I can't just sit around without making the most of what we have left. No way. That's why this party has to be amazing. At least, that's how I feel. As he listened to your explanation, Baxter regarded you with a solemn expression. There was a pinch in his forehead with his eyebrows, where his eyebrows had come together. He was all sympathy. I'm sorry you're going through a difficult experience. I wish I knew how to alleviate matters. It's so uncertain. Sadly, there are a few, if any, guarantees in this world. Or rather, such is the case for the vast majority of us. I can believe there are people who can remain close to each other in spite of distance and years between them. Those who will remain in your life always. His countenance had softened, a faint hopefulness lighting his face as moonlight on water. He spoke with tenderness. I believe you will find those kinds of people, Princeton. I really do. And while nobody can say for sure, I bet that you already have. Baxter, thank you for listening. I think I found them too. I hope you have someone like that as well. Are you saying that you'll be true to me always? I love this answer. You beamed at him, thankful for his company. You nodded along quietly to yourself. I love this one. Baxter stared at you aghast, his mouth dropping open in shock. He fumbled for a reply, half stammering. I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention at all. I'd be the last person to claim I'm a shrinking violet, but I'm not so brazen as to suggest, no, I meant the friends you have here. Terry, Miranda, Cove, especially Cove. I meant those kinds of people, of course. I'm sorry, I'm not making sense. There was a long pause. The only sound was the faint whisper of a car passing by, the gurgle of the fridge from the kitchen. Oh! Two of you jumped in surprise as Baxter's phone went off like a shot in the night. It was the alarm he'd set when you put the cakes in the freezer. He shakily turned it back off, getting up from his seat. A few seconds hesitation, and then, well now, those cupcakes had better be ready for us. Oh. I don't like the way that sounded, sir. It had the vaguely dangerous quality of a threat, which was so absurd after the past few minutes that you couldn't help but giggle. After resting for a bit, you found that you had more energy. You made to follow Baxter, springing your step as you went. Even after unwinding, you were rather sleepy. You could keep going, though. You dutifully eased your body into motion again, following along beside. By this time, even your fumes were running on fumes. I was sleepy, but I could still go. But that was it, the final stretch before the finish line. You left the living room and returned to the kitchen where Baxter popped open the freezer door. You retrieved the bowl of frosting and the plastic bag for piping, along with the tubes of glitter Terry had given you hours ago. We have to put glitter on it too? Oh my gosh, Terry, you're so demanding. We can each take half and do the frosting and dusting in one go, right? Wish me luck. That sounds like a plan. It'll be fine. You both set about this last task with a grim determination. You worked quickly, not sharing any conversation or otherwise distracting from the job at hand. You frosted and dusted, each of the 36 cupcakes being lined along the counter as they were completed. Oh, drat. Make that 35. The singleton Baxter jot splattered helplessly on the kitchen floor. There was a break in the frosting, a moment of respect for a cake now lost. Then you both shrugged. One extra cupcake wasn't about to make a world of a difference, though. Terry might have disagreed. I read that completely wrong. What Terry didn't know wouldn't hurt her. When the surveying cupcakes had been properly outfitted with sugar, more sugar on top of the existing sugar to be precise, you stepped back to admire your creation. It was obvious that neither of you had any special gift for the art of cake decoration. But hey, they'd probably still taste good, and that was the important thing, right? You two fished out 4 airtight plastic containers from a long drawer and stashed the cupcakes inside. Lids were closed, boxes were in the fridge, and finally, the door was shut. It was finished. You had survived. You checked the time. It was almost 2 a.m. You could have almost cried from joy. Baxter rubbed his eyes and massaged his temples. I have a newfound respect for bakers everywhere. I shall look forward to having all of my future life events professionally catered, even if it costs a fortune. I feel that. Not me, though. I can't afford it. But I feel it. I feel it heavily. He stared down at the miserable remains of the quality cupcake on the tile. Casualty cupcake, not the quality. Where am I getting these words? Never again. You laughed, and the sight too funny for you to keep a straight face. Ignore the mess. I can take care of it. I'll see you back to your house. I fear your parents might be worried that you've been out so late. Girl, I'm an adult. Actually, that's not going to stop my mom and dad in real life. I have a curfew. You reassured him that it was fine. Your moms knew you were just across the street, and you said it might take a while. You weren't concerned. Baxter was relieved to hear it. The journey home was a blur, a disconnected sequence of images. As promised, Baxter walked with you down the steps of his condo across the road. You remembered the welcoming glow of the porch light, the wave Baxter gave you as the front door closed. You ambled through your childhood home in the dark. By feel and instinct alone, you counted the stairs in silence, tiptoed into your room, approached the bed, and then, you jerked awake with a start. There was a loud knocking coming from your bedroom door. Kiddo, you awake? You were in your bedroom. You were pretty sure about that anyway. 80% positive, at least. You were too drowsy to come up with any more creative place to be. But besides the basic and likely fact of existing in your bedroom, you found that you hadn't the faintest idea of what was going on. There had been a voice, right? You remembered a voice. Terry phoned the house earlier, but you missed her. There it was again, your mom's voice. As you slowly blinked awake, realization came to you in stages. You recalled the events of yesterday. The lived sensations swam in your memory. A frantic afternoon of planning and shopping and sugar. At some point, you had ended up in your bed and asleep, but you didn't recall setting an alarm. Terry had said she'd pick you up at 7 this morning, so she was your wake-up call for the day. You poked your head out from beneath the blanket and called out, I'm awake! I'm awake! Sitting in the middle of your room, your mind blanked. Then you scrunched up your face really tight and allowed your brain to form a coherent thought. Miranda's birthday. It was Miranda's birthday. You hastily changed into a fresh set of clothes, tried to tame your bedhead as best you could, and then raced downstairs. You bade your moms a quick farewell. Have fun, sweetie. And say happy birthday to Miranda for us, Kay. You had barely enough time to yell a quick thank you over your shoulder before you were out the front door. When you stepped outside, Cove was there waiting for you on the sidewalk. Why is he here? Oh, hey. Forgot what he looked like. The number of times you've left his house to find him there. You'd left the house to find him there. It sometimes made you wonder if he lived on your sidewalk. He does. He hadn't the faintest trace of sleepiness on him, but then Cove rarely did. He was a tiny sun at any time of day, but mornings were when he was shown the brightest. Okay, but like, I don't care about Cove right now. Where's Baxter with the cupcakes? You exchanged your usual greetings, but rather than stop to chat, you kept walking by. As you explained to him, the cakes are at Baxter's place, and you needed to go pick them up. Oh, alright. Was he jealous? Cove didn't tag along, content to leave you on your own devices. That made sense. He wasn't getting the point of sneaking out Baxter's company willingly. It wasn't likely to start right now. Cove, what is your issue, bro? When you knocked on Baxter's door, it popped right open like your meager taps had knocked it off its hinges. Hi, Baxter. Good morning. I've been expecting you. Why are you up so early? You had gotten that impression. He moved aside in the hallway to let you pass, and you strode briskly into the condo. He followed you into the kitchen, where you found the cakes on their counter stacked on the countertop. The big day is, finally here. Excuse me. His composure had been broken with an enormous yawn. That made me yawn. The size you hadn't seen since the coffee shop. Hey, I'm just wondering, what time did you go to bed last night? Truthfully, I didn't make it to bed. You weren't surprised by now. Baxter was just like that. But you still felt a pang of guilt. You were putting him through the ringer with this party. It's not an issue. I felt rather rough after I finished cleaning yesterday and took the liberty of having a nice long shower. I also prefer to avoid going to bed with damp hair. But as soon as I had gotten dry, then I realized I wouldn't be able to get any substantial amount of sleep before I needed to be up again anyway, so I stayed awake instead. Even so, maybe try a nap sometime today. I barely slept either. Seriously, you're wild. I hope you don't feel unwell or anything. You only shake your head at his recklessness. I hope you don't feel unwell. A lack of sleep for one day is hardly enough to kill me, don't worry. Still, the thought is appreciated. Enough about me. Let's take these delicacies outside and wait for Terry. She texted me earlier to let me know she was on her way. I imagine you received a similar message? Terry had indeed sent you a message, although it was too early in the day to be hit with something with so many exclamation points. How much sleep had she gotten? He picked up 2 of the waiting boxes, leaving you to carry the remainder. Oh my gosh. If I could read, I feel like the world would be a better place. You didn't linger, heading straight for the front entrance. Baxter came out behind you with a key. He had trouble with the logistics, eventually resorting to balancing the containers in one hand like a serving tray before closing and locking the door with the other. Back on the street, Cove was still loitering on the street down by the front gate. What front gate? We have a front gate to this community? We're a gated community? Blissfully unaware of what the secret party planning committee had gone through for this, Baxter called over to him, full of characteristic good cheer. Good morning, neighbor. Hey. Cole's response was quiet, more distracted than aloof. He was peering with interest at the boxes you were carrying. He had hopes about their contents. You can't have any because you didn't help. Like, what did you do for this party? Were you at work? Oh, too bad. Sorry. Sucks for you. Have some cake. No cupcakes, though. The plastic was kind of soggy and translucent, so it wasn't quite possible to tell what was inside. But Cove intuited that whatever it was edible. The boy was like a sharker sometimes. A sharker? He was a sharker. My friend, you were looking at a 35 of the finest freshly baked chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. Do you guys like cream cheese frosting? Or do you like whipped cream frosting? Because I hate whipped frosting. That shit's disgusting. I don't want it light and airy. I need to fill my whole soul be filled with sugar. If you're gonna make a frosting, make that shit tasty. Cole's face visibly lit up at the word cake as if he'd been offered one already. That's great. I believe Terry is also bringing your proper birthday cake from home as well. Cole's smile grew even wider. You hoped Baxter was taking notes. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach was a phrase you suspected which had originally been written about Cole. The promise of treats was far and away the most exciting aspect of any party, at least to him. You know what, that's fair. It's fair. The reason to go to any party is for the food. Your childhood companion was so silly, he thought. He provided you with most of a lifetime's worth of entertainment for free. In fact, someone had tried to pay you to have it. I just remembered that. Those won't be the only sweets either. There's gonna be a chocolate fountain too? Oh boy, we lucked out. Cole's mouth formed a perfectly round O. Or is that that's an O. That's an O in this font. It looked like a 0. And you thought you could see sparkles in his eyes, or maybe they were sprinkles. What are you guys bringing to dip it in? Strawberries, marshmallows, banana slices, pretzels? While Cole was busy listing every single item he thought might reasonably taste good drenched in liquefied chocolate, it struck you that you didn't know what the answer to the question was. Was Terry handling that? Were you supposed to have thought of something? You exchanged a nervous glance with Baxter, who shifted uncomfortably from one foot to the other. Very not good. Baxter didn't have a clue either, which could only mean that you had never even discussed the matter with Terry yesterday. It was the quake. It was the cupcake quandary all over again. Oh my gosh. Words. The alliteration. Your shoulders slumped. You had honestly never anticipated organizing a party would involve coordinating so many different things. Your mind simply couldn't keep track of it all. Seeing your distress, Baxter slipped into his usual mode of cool cucumberness. Let's think about this. Terry took the fountain home with her, so we can sensibly assume that she has taken charge of it, and by extension, the offerings to dip into the fountain. However, it's time isn't on our side, and luck hasn't been either. In order to be 100% absolutely crystal clear about the matter, we should text her and ask. Although, if she's currently driving. Some people text and drive. Not me, though. I don't text and drive. Some people I know do. Full shade. He trailed off, a hint of anxiety managing to mar even his carefully schooled demeanor. You all exchange a new set of nervous glances, Cove joining in this time. This problem was one even he could worry about. We should grab stuff. Our houses are right here. You know what Terry's like, and if she knew what she was going to do, she'd have said so already. Baxter inclined his head in agreement, bending down to place his box of cakes on the ground near the condo's front entrance. Don't put them on the ground! I don't care if they are in boxes. Ants could crawl into them. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. Then he straightened, pulling himself up to his full height. We are going to our homes to retrieve some suitable samplers. Terry will arrive and take us to the venue, and there will be no further problems. His voice resonated with a forceful air of finality. This was perhaps the closest you'd seen Baxter to losing his temper. Then he added, as an afterthought, unless, of course, we are hit by a car on the way there. But quite frankly, I will be much too tired to care about dying by then. Let's settle this. What is this man? He was right. It had been done. You simply put your box of cupcakes next to Baxter's, then the three of you made a run for it, each going your separate ways. You dashed over the road and hopped into the inside of your house. Heading directly for the kitchen, you opened cabinets at random, racking your brain for anything to bring. What would go on a chocolate fountain? You wish you paid more attention to what Cove had been saying earlier. Though you did remember to swipe a bunch of ripe bananas off the counter. Then you hit jackpot of the highest shelf of your family's cupboard. Why are we stealing my food? For this party. It's not even for me. Back outside, the three of you examined the spoils of your impromptu raiding party. There were several types of assorted fruits, marshmallows, some cookies, pretzels, and a box of granola bars. I want a pretzel. Do you think I can convince Gil to take me to get a pretzel on my birthday? Ooh la la. I want a pretzel now. I could just go get one myself, but I can't. I'm poor. Never mind. I'm poor. Back outside, the three of you, yeah, and a box of granola bars. Who's dipping granola bars in chocolate? Never mind. There are chocolate dipped granola bars. The last item, one of Cove's, had Baxter chuckling under his breath. I have to say, I've never heard of granola bars being dipped in a fountain before, chocolate or otherwise. Hey, would you rather I'd brought protein bars instead? I would have rather you brought none of that. Just the pretzels. No, this is good. It'll be a novel addition, not to mention easy for people to hold without using the utensil. Besides, I hardly contributed at all. He gestured a little timidly at a bag of salted pretzels, his sole addition to the haul. It was all he had to bring. You saved the day by finding your mom's and Liz's special treats, 3 types of cookies and big marshmallows. Not me stealing their special treats. Oh, they're gonna be so upset. They'd have to sacrifice for this event as everyone else did. I would clobber me stole my special treats for some birthday party I might not even be at. Right, I brought some bags along to put everything in. I can carry those while you two handle the cakes. You and Baxter both praised Cove's quick thinking and gratefully dumped everything into the bags he held out. Then you gathered up the boxes of cupcakes. You mingled about, making idle conversation about the upcoming party and trading some anecdotes with Cove about the baking process from the night before. It was especially mournful to hear about the accident that claimed the 36th cupcake. But soon, there was the telltale sound of a vehicle approaching at speed. The Brooks van pulled up alongside you, and the horn honked loudly in greeting. Terry had arrived. You could see the enormous grin on her face through the front windshield. She enthusiastically stuck her arm out the driver's window and waved. Cove beamed and waved back. I'll get the door. He pulled up on the sliding door, jumping inside and striking up a conversation with Terry immediately. You clambered in after him. The car was normally spacious, but since you filled up with the party equipment yesterday, it's gotten quite cramped. You made room for the additional food wherever you could. You ready to make like an RPG and party up? Not really. Were you ready to have a chocolate fountain? What did you bring to dip it in? Dip in it. Not dip in it. You don't dip a chocolate fountain. Being subjected to the accusation right at the gate knocked Terry completely off her stride. Her expression was utterly baffled. Cove, how do you know about the chocolate fountain? I almost forgot we even had a chocolate fountain. Then Terry clapped a hand to her forehead, her eyes wide. Oh, shoot! I forgot to bring stuff for the chocolate fountain. Terry started panicking, but Baxter promptly headed that off the pass with a casual rap of his knuckles against the external wall of the van. He leaned in through the side door, having stopped short of climbing inside after you and Cove. No need to worry about it, Terry. We thought we thought that might have happened, so we took the liberty of bringing along some offerings of our own. You guys got the goods? Yep, right here. Cove ran. My brain just broke. Cove held up one of the bags of extra supplies he was still clutching, jiggling it enticingly. Terry placed a hand heavily to her heart. Crap. You are my saviors. But don't scare me like that. I thought this party was a bust. But do you know how many times I've thought that in the last 12 hours? You're lucky you're not doing this by yourself, Terry. Oh yeah, you got that right. Remind me to treat you to something once this is all over. Deal. Hold on, you barely did anything yet, Cove. He is present now. And it's thanks to him we realized what was amiss. Cove speaks for us all, I think. You have yourself a deal, Terry. Fine. Slowly but surely, you felt some of the stress from the last several hours fade from the company of your friends. Maybe this whole thing would work out alright in the end. Baxter gently tapped the side of the vehicle again to grab everyone's attention. With that safely out of the way, I'll part with you three here. I'm gonna drive along behind in my car if that's alright. Oh, okay, sure. That's cool with me, man. Terry didn't really get what Baxter was doing, but she wasn't about to start raising objections. A brief glance at the two of you confirmed that neither you nor Cove had a clue between you either. Splendid. I'll see you very soon. He punctuated his farewell by shutting the van door, leaving you and Cove to buckle yourselves in. Terry watched in the rearview mirror as Baxter approached his vehicle and got inside. Once he fastened his seatbelt and flashed her a quick thumbs up, she put the van in drive and pulled out. Baxter followed suit, and the four of you were off. You sat with the boxes of cupcakes stacked precariously in your lap, your arms wrapped around the sides to prevent the tower from toppling. You were hyper aware of every last dip and bump in the familiar roads like you'd never been before. As you went along, Terry laid out a plan for you when you arrived. So the idea is to make sure we all get the snacks and drinks and the stuff ready first, in case we're missing anything, or anything else. Then we've got to decorate everything as fast as physically possible before it's noon, basically. That's when people should start showing up. We're going to order some sandwich platters and salad bowls and stuff on the delivery. Those should be for people to eat along with the cake. Sort of like a late lunch. Oh, and by we, I mean Randy's mom and dad. We're off the hook for that part. She threw her head back and whooped with glee, a sound that was pure and clear as the morning. You felt her infectious enthusiasm. She continued. Anyways, Randy doesn't want to have her party drag on forever, and we'll need time to clean up before the place closes, so we're going to wrap things up with the event before dinner. When the guests are gone, we'll have until 10 before we'll get kicked out of the room. How long do these parties last? I feel like a party should last 3 hours. And no longer. No longer than 3 hours. Now, I won't sugarcoat it or even chocolate coat it, team. It's gonna be another long day for all of us. Just don't forget, Randy's gonna be amazed, and it'll all be worth the effort. I just know it. You closed your eyes, leaning back against the seat of the van. Terry was speaking the truth, of course, about all of it. It was to be another grueling day. But you had your friends, and you were grateful to be huddled in the back of a van, surrounded by a mountain of bags and 35 cupcakes in your lap. To be alive. To be there. You might have been in some danger of falling asleep again, sitting down for too long. But before you nodded off, Terry was parking the van in a lot outside a large building. It looked like it hosts generic offices rather than parties. You couldn't judge a book by its cover, apparently. We're here, everybody out. On command, you and Cole dutifully climbed out of the van. Baxter was pulling up in his car, having managed to stick close to Terry the whole way. When your group had reassembled, there was a brief exchange of greetings. Terry wasn't in the mood to dawdle, and clapped her hands together. Time to get moving, people. We've got a whole party truck to unload. Aye, aye, Captain. What he said. Sure. You and Terry carried your respective desserts while Cove and Baxter worked together to take a folded table from the back of the van. Terry led the way to the rented room. You peeked your head around the cupcake container and got your first look at the party space. It seriously was perfect for this, and exactly as Terry had originally described, shiny, pretty, and pink. On Terry's direction, the boys put the table down on what would eventually be the refreshment section of the party. They extended the legs and flipped it upright. Once it was stable on its feet, Baxter was quick to cover the surface with one of the golden tablecloths. It was ready to go. Ever so carefully, you set your plastic chest of bejeweled consumables down. When the opaque lids came off, it revealed frosted tops were still intact. On clearer and closer inspection, you could tell a few cupcakes on the left side of the container was slightly smushed, but the glitter coating hadn't rubbed off, so no one would notice the imperfection. Ah! Terry's gleeful exclamation came from over your shoulder. She'd caught sight of your and Baxter's handiwork. That's what I'm talking about! The white cake with bits of rainbow confetti in her hands was the one element that was out of place with the theme. It was entirely unglamorous, a relic of more childlike birthday parties. But that's what you were certain Miranda would adore it. That's why you were certain Miranda would adore it. She hadn't completely outgrown old favorites. Terry put it next to the cupcakes and gave you a big thumbs up. You had everything you needed, and the biggest potential disasters had been avoided. You should focus on the rest of the preparation with confidence. The whole secret party planning committee went for another run of supply gathering. Another table and piles of plastic bags were brought into the venue. On the third round, everything had made it inside. You'd carried a red cooler filled with chilled sparkling cider. Terry hid that under the cover table until later. Then all four of you sat around the lit up dance floor. Why am I losing the ability to read? It's like the longer I read, the lesser I read. Then all four of you sat around the lit up dance floor, taking stuff out of bags and sorting it into piles. Things for food on one half of the room, decorations on the other. Terry and Cove were cross-legged. Baxter kept his legs stretched out. It was kind of like being a kid on Christmas, except instead of opening gifts, it was things you just have to set up. And instead of piles of wrapping paper all around you, it was plastic thank you for shopping bags. You still had plenty of fun, especially after it was somehow decided that Cove Holden was the perfect hook for the feather boas. One after another was tossed into his shoulder and into his lap until he looked like a multicolored big bird. Cove accepted the assignment with only a moderate amount of complaining. When the supplies were completely unpacked, Terry surveyed the collection of plates, napkins, utensils, plastic cups, and such. She announced that she'd handle the snack and drink arrangements. She delegated you, Baxter, and Cove to do everything else with the room. After a salute, Terry left the circle and headed to her station. From under his cloak of feathers, Cove got busy snapping off tags and removing casings. You and Baxter followed his lead. The empty bags were repurposed for holding trash. Peacefully and productively, your little team worked away on different tasks, until a groan of frustration echoed through the air. You glanced towards the opposite side of the room. Terry was shaking the chocolate fountain like she was trying to get a prize to fall out of it. Technical difficulties? Baxter stated the obvious. Everyone in the room was aware of Terry's struggles. Not to worry, I have a bit of experience with these beasts. I should be able to offer assistance. He announced his intentions as he got up. There wasn't much left that had packaging, and you wanted to make sure everything was all right, so you decided to go see Terry too. Cove was left to hold down the fort. He shrugged and one of those bolas slipped down his back. Oh, okay. You crossed the floor together, and with a wave, Baxter spoke out to the woman hunched over a table. Hello. Cherry sprung up at the sound. Her face was despairing, and she skipped right past the greeting. How do you use this thing? You add the chocolate and it's supposed to go, right? Because it's not going. Baxter and his lips cocked a hip. Baxter pursed his lips and cocked a hip, considering. Basically, yes. You add the melted chocolate into the machine and turn it on. It takes a minute, but should start to flow. We can troubleshoot it. Wait, the melted chocolate? She released her clutch on the fountain. Doesn't it melt it when you put it in? A pinch of frustration made Baxter wince. It was only momentary. Then he was smiling placatingly. He had to deliver bad news as pleasantly as possible. To use a chocolate fountain, the chocolate must be melted ahead of time. It won't cook in the machine. Those novelties aren't that sophisticated. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you didn't know that. I should have asked. I should have known. I should have been the one to set it up in the first place. Baxter's regrets grew and grew. You never used one before, and I have. The both of them dropped their faces with a sigh, though the dramatics of their actions were so entirely different levels. Baxter's injection was subtle, restrained. Meanwhile, Terry couldn't have exaggerated her misery more. And after Baxter used his own money to get it, and all the trouble you went to finding the treats that could be used in it, the fountain ended up a useless metal tower. There has to be some way to make that thing work. Well, I give up. The universe doesn't want a chocolate fountain at this party. I'm sorry, I didn't know either. I think I hate fountains with edible things now. You had to laugh at how disastrous it was. You shook your head in mutual disappointment. Is there not a microwave here? You are absolutely right. Baxter straightened himself like an actual professional and viewed the situation from an objective distance and could give perspective to the more emotionally attached Terry. It's not quite late yet. It's a temporary hitch. I will take the chocolate somewhere it can be melted and come back. I'll need some way to keep it warm during the trip. Perhaps a thermos would work? Would you be able to find a thermos that would melt chocolate Sorry, that's his voice. Would you be able to find a thermos and milk chocolate before the party starts? He chuckled, a hand over his mouth. That is unlikely. What you all need to do is enjoy the other parts of the event first. Dance, drink, eat one of the lovely cupcakes. He then flicked his wrist, gesturing away from his face. I'll return at some point during the evening, and the fountain will go up then. We can even act as if it was intentional to bring it out later. Ideally, the fountain can accompany the serving of the cake. No one has to know it was a problem factor. Thank you, Baxter. You're a real champ. Well, we don't have any other options. Maybe we should give up on the fountain. But you'd missed much of the party. You nodded. It was the best choice you had. You're a real champ. He inclined his head humbly, all while grinning. As flexible as I usually prefer to be, there are some situations where I can be surprisingly stubborn. This is one of them. Terry gripped her chest, overcome by such loyalty and dedication. B-Man, you are the man. We'll finish getting ready and keep the party going until you make it. That's excellent. Good luck. It can't be understated with a stroke of luck. It was to have someone like Baxter Ward on committee. Okay, I'll take care. You take care too. With that, he sauntered out of the room, a bag of unmelted chocolate in his hand, and a smile on his face. You could just melt it with your hands, can't you? Just sit on it. Just sit on the chocolate, it'll melt. In time with the shutting of the door, Cherry smacked her palm against the table definitively. This is gonna be the best party I've ever done, no matter what, because it's gonna be the only party I'll ever throw. Never again. Girl, I feel that. Next time somebody else is gonna have to be in charge, I'll just help. Baxter kind of already is in charge. I thought it was a team effort. Well, don't look at me. I'm not going to be the party planner either. That's the best idea you had so far. You held up an okay sign. You massaged the sides of your face. Girl, you're not even in charge now. Nah, if he was, the chocolate fountain would be going already. You smiled. You laughed even more. She laughed too. Come on, Princeton. I don't know what that was. I was trying to say he's, and then I just couldn't get it out. He's not gonna let us down, and we can't stop either. Let's finish this. Yeah! He spun around only to come face to face with a fluffy cove. He buried himself further in the feather boas and began filling with a balloon he must have inflated. Right. Cove was left to wait alone the entire time. He stared awkwardly, as did Terry. Is everything alright? We can only hope, Cove. We can only hope. Okay. Cove left it at that, not more informed or assured. And so the party decorating continued with one less person. More balloons were blown up and placed about, streamers were strung up, and you even moved a bench from a corner of the center stage. It would act as a makeshift throne for the queen of the day. Finally, all the trash bags were carted out of the event space and tossed into a dumpster outside. The three of you returned and stood in the center of a now clear dance floor to admire your handiwork. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, the room gleamed. It looks good. It does. It actually does. Terry was beaming wider than you'd ever seen. After a day and a half of almost non-stop preparations, you pulled off something pretty great. It was certainly a homemade arrangement by a group of friends at the last minute, but that was half the charm. Your efforts were easy to see. You sat in a row along the edge of the stage resting. You know what you should have done? You should have put the sparkling cider in the chocolate fountain, so people could have poured sparkling cider and just sip from that. That would have been good. But no, you decided to have a chocolate fountain. Lame. Give me a drink fountain. You sat in a row along the edge of the stage, resting, waiting for the big event. No one talked. Cove tapped his foot. Until finally Terry's phone went off. Not her barking. She read the message fervently. She remembered in haste. It's from Jude. The guests are arriving. I repeat, the guests are arriving. Miranda, her siblings, her parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, and other people. And we only have 35 cupcakes, and all those people are coming? Girl. They're gonna be in this room any minute. Be ready. What the fuck you mean, be ready? Terry shot from the back of the room to the front in a matter of seconds. She hit the music on. She then strung a few bags along her arms. Those ones hadn't been used for trash. Cove put the accessories in them for safekeeping, after he was done wearing all the boas himself, of course. With that hanging over her, Terry stood in wait at the entrance. You and Cove joined her. Noise could be heard on the other side. Cove's hands clenched. Terry clasped onto his shirt like he was about to meet her maker, like she was about to meet her maker. Then the door slowly began to open. On the other side, a small crowd was huddled together. As the head of it was Miranda herself. Oh my gosh! The dazzling pink party room was reflected in Miranda's big sparkling eyes. Terry threw her bag laden arms into the air. None of them fell off, fortunately. Surprise! 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 As spoken, Miranda was overcome with surprise. Terry and Princeton and Cove? That's right. What do you think of your party this year? Terry queried her friend eagerly. The quickness of the question was partially motivated by a discreet anxiety. Miranda blinked and she knew. Her family weren't the ones who put on this event. She answered with wholehearted appreciation. I love it. It's amazing. Way nicer than I would have thought. And we surprised you? You didn't know what we were up to? You're not just being nice? He definitely got me. I didn't think this much would happen. Especially since it's not my 18th birthday or 21st or anything like that. It's only 19. What? All your birthdays are a big deal. Randy giggled at Terry's assertion. While her eyes were closed, you and Terry shared a look. The party was more important than Miranda realized. Thanks a ton. This is exactly what I wanted, and I didn't even know it. Cove let out a relieved breath. Terry pumped a fist victoriously, and the bag she was holding flung around. Miranda's secret birthday bash was a hit. More and more guests gathered and wandered about. They openly admired the room. Terry nodded pleased. It's party time. Let's use the stuff we got. She dumped the contents of each sack on the empty end of the table for everyone to access. A bunch of sunglasses clattered out with the boas. And on top of pile was a white one. Terry stashed that back in the bag and threw it under the tablecloth. He mentally gave her thanks for the say that was obviously meant for Baxter and nobody else. Miranda gave a clap. It was one delight after another today. Terry sported sunglasses and a purple feather boa. Cove just went for a pair of sunglasses. He had enough of wearing the boas already. Or maybe it wasn't fun when he was only allowed to take one. He managed to fit them over his regular glasses. Miranda got her own oversized shades, but instead of boa, she was granted the special birthday girl sash to set her apart from all the other attendees. You grabbed your own boa, you grabbed your sunglasses too. You were going to accessories. I'm getting both. This made you feel like a glamorous diva from that interactive play. Nice. Decked out for the party, Terry directed Miranda's attention to what else was on the tables. She was charmed anew when she saw the waiting rows of fake champagne and outright stunned with her eyes on a display of glittery cupcakes. That's so pretty. Did you buy those? Nope. They're homemade. Don't be taking credit for my cupcakes. Really? They look like they're from a pro bakery. Thank you. Can I have one now, or are we waiting until it's time for cake? Miranda, it's your birthday. You can decide. She beamed. It was time for the queen to make her decree. Then I declare that we can all eat cupcakes right now. What a gracious hostess. Works for me. And you knew the three of them reached out for a treat. You grabbed two. You earned you're interested in eating one of the cupcakes. I'm gonna take a cupcake. You bit into it right away. The fluffy cake and creamy frosting were delicious and all the sweeter knowing how much work had gone into it. Terry licked the shiny frosting first. That was most intriguing to her. Miranda broke the bottom of the cake off and stuck it in the frosting to make a cupcake sandwich before she took a bite. She'd seen it in a video one time and done it since. Cove crammed half of the dessert into his mouth at once. They Each did their own unique way of enjoying their confection, but enjoy it they did. It was too bad Baxter wasn't there to see the results of your shared labor. You'd have to at least let him know all the trouble wasn't in vain. While the snacking occurred, you caught sight of Jude in the crowd of guests. He tied a blue boa around his forehead. The feathers hung down and partially covered his eyes. Who the hell is Jude? Is that her brother? But his bangs were so long, his view was always partially obstructed, so it didn't make that much of a difference. Miranda's mom, dad, and her two older sisters were going around the room taking pictures and videos. Whenever the cameras ended up pointed in their general direction, Terry and Miranda posed like superstars. Seeing the entire Eckert family enjoy themselves really made the effort worth the while. Cupcakes were finished and the crumbs were wiped away. Hand in hand, Terry and Miranda hit the floor. Cove's hand, meanwhile, hovered over the platter of cupcakes. He considered taking another, but he closed his fingers to a fist. He resisted the temptation. He jerked his head in the direction of your friends, encouraging you to come with. Cove left the snack table to the edge of the lit-up floor. He didn't go an inch past that border. Clapping and calling out to Miranda and Terry was much partying as he was capable of. You joined Miranda and Terry. You stuck by Cove. You had a wide distance between you and the action. I'll stick by Cove. He smiled over at you when it became obvious you weren't going anywhere. It was nice, the way your group could neatly split in half and still have fun. More and more guests crowded into the bright lights at the center, like a moths to a flame. Terry whipped and twirled her bow, and Miranda's sunglasses kept flying off her face with the quick-footed moves she was pulling. After a couple songs, Terry dragged Miranda to the front so she could sit in her throne you'd prepared for her. Time for a cheer! The center of attention normally embarrassed Randy, but today she could ignore those inclinations. Wait there, Randy. Cove! Help me with the drinks around. She searched for her along the outskirts of the room and winked when your eyes met. You gotta make up for not helping at all yesterday. Fine. They got to it, pouring in and passing drinks around the room. Cove offered one from the first batch to you. A grim-faced lady saw what was going on and suddenly helped out the glasses of fake champagne. She knew the drill without being told. Thanks to the efforts of those three, people had a cup ready to go. At the front stage, Terry passed the guest of honor a glass to. It was time. To the B-Day, girl! Happy birthday, Miranda! Dozens of sparkling drinks glimmered under the shining lights as they were raised in a toast. People drank and clinked glasses with whoever they were rubbing elbows with. You took a sip, you chugged it. I'm chugging the entire glass. Tipping the stem of the cup to the ceiling, you downed the fake champagne. A rush of bubbles scratched your throat, but you didn't stop. You liked to party hard, and Cove could not judge considering how he inhaled a cupcake only 10 minutes ago. A half-full plastic champagne glass, Brenda leapt from her seat, off the stage, and landed into the crowd on the dance floor. That got a second round of cheering. Terry followed right after her, and the celebrating resumed in full force. Cove didn't quite dance himself, but he did bop his head to the music and tap a foot. You swayed along with the music, watching the festivities. Like the cupcakes, you all relished the moment in your own ways. The afternoon was the party to end all parties, for better or worse. The music inside her flowed without stopping until... Yo, Randy! I don't know who Jude is. Miranda's big brother, there we go. It's her big brother. Slipped through the few cracks in the wall of the dancers until he reached the heart of the floor. Food's here, it's cake time. Yay! Miranda gave a final gleeful twirl on her tiptoes. The birthday sash fluttered. Terry waved at you and Cove. Let's eat! The gang united back at the refreshment table. And there, along with Miranda's parents setting out the sandwich platters for lunch, was another figure, distinctly a monochrome figure. He acted entirely at ease behind the table, busy doing a final check over the chocolate fountain. It was flipped on, slowly liquefied chocolate began to trickle out. Baxter did it. Is that Baxter? Miranda peered closer. She'd come face to face with an unexpected acquaintance in a gathering of people she knew best. Yep, he was here before too. Oh, why is he setting up a chocolate fountain for my birthday? Terry's hands went to her hips, and she came out with the whole story. B-Man was a crucial member of the secret party planning group who made this whole thing happen. What? Really? Miranda had looked back and forth between Baxter and Terry and at a loss. Baxter is nice, and I think he can't stand to see an event fail spectacularly or something. But for whatever reason, he wanted to help out. He took us to the store to get the supplies, made cupcakes, put up decorations, and did just about everything for that chocolate fountain. It almost had to be mixed like 3 times. Baxter kept his professional, polite demeanor the entire conversation, despite the fact that he had heard what they were talking about. Feigning innocence, he came around to the other side of the table to properly greet the guest of honor. Happy birthday. Thank you. She barely knew what to say after finding out exactly how much he contributed, but her gaze dropped and she tugged at her sash self-consciously. A minute before, she was the life of the party, embracing the cheesy glitz with gusto, but in front of him, she felt childish. Baxter gave a considerate smile. You should be able to manage the fountain now that it's running. I hope the rest of the party will be a lovely time. You're leaving already? Her question was barely a peep. She had to muster all her confidence to say that much. Yes, my job is done. I was here for that only. No, the fuck you weren't, Baxter. He what? Oh my god. It was as if the floor dropped from under you. Baxter had worked as hard as anyone to make this party happen. You pulled an all-nighter for it and he was just going to leave? But what could you say against it? Of course he couldn't invite himself to Miranda's surprise birthday party. She never had a chance to give him permission to attend. Staring at him, he was unruffled as ever. Baxter knew all along he wouldn't get to experience the results of the hard work, and did it anyways. But, well... She released her hold on her accessory and looked into Baxter's face directly. It was really thoughtful of you to do this. You should stay and enjoy the party, too. You are a gracious host. His words held sincere appreciation as the welcome extended, enough to get your hopes up. But I can't do that. The rejection was equally amiable. That didn't make it less disappointing. You don't owe me anything. Certainly not a place among your real friends at your birthday party. There's no reason to feel guilty. Now, if you'll excuse me, take care. With a kindly wave that left no room for further arguments, Baxter breezed past your group. That was it. He was gone. Terry began to frown at some point. She had been willing to do anything to make Miranda's party great, but it came to greater cost than she thought. Terry piled job after job on Baxter's shoulder because he was just another part of the group in her mind. She realized too late that he wasn't, and he never had been. Cove could only silently rub the scar on his left arm, and worst of all, Randy's cheer hadn't returned after Baxter's vanishing act was completed. He earnestly wished for her to be happy, but it was understandably hard to get into that celebratory spirit after the kind of revelation. It shouldn't have to end like this. It didn't have to end like this. You wouldn't let it end like this. If Baxter wasn't going to be at Miranda's party, there had to be something he could be a part of. You mentally grappled with a problem and cast your eyes about, trying to grasp at any hint of an idea. Then something Terry said earlier came back to you. Terry. All three of the others glanced your way. It was the first crack in the awkward silence, and that was enough for Cove and Miranda to also take an interest. Yeah? Could you do me a favor? Are you kidding? I owe my life for making sure this wasn't a disaster. I'll help you out with whatever you want. I'll help you too, if there's something I can do. Thanks. Miranda's birthday will be going on for a couple more hours. It'll be done way before the place closes, and Terry said we've got the room for the entire day. So tonight, after all the guests are gone, let's use this venue for an after party. No, a totally different party. Another party? He tilted his head incredulously. Yeah, another party. Not a birthday. It could be our very own. Summer soiree. Happy summer bash. Chocolate fountain celebration. A party planner appreciation party. He can't say no to that. And it can be just for our group. Me, Randy, Terry, Cove, and Baxter. We could try to set aside some of the food and drinks for later, clean up the mess while everyone has left. We'll have soul music at this event. You know how much he wanted to dance? And I do that with him. Terry, you could pay him back for everything he did by being his partner for that. No, that's my man. You were a great dancer after all. You knew how to dance. I'm a great dancer. Yeah. The first to affirm the idea was the one originally most trepidatious about Baxter being there, but she was answered with confidence. I'll be a member of the secret party planning committee for this surprise. If he can do it for me, I can do it for him. And maybe Terry was right. We could all use more friends. Cove did not look convinced at all, though couldn't disagree with the main suggestion. Cove, you're such a hater. Okay. A wide grin pulled at Terry's face, seeing his new plan forming. We should catch him before he's gone. He might not get the message if he escapes now. Good idea. Thanks, everyone. He rushed through the guests coming in on all sides, clamoring from their lunch. Bursting out of the party room was like waking from a dream. The peak extravaganza was replaced by a plain white hallway, and the only sounds were your own footsteps echoing off the linoleum floors. You've been able to forget the normal world for a while, but it's been there the entire time, going on as usual on the other side of the floor. But Baxter wasn't there either. He kept going through the lobby and into the parking lot. His hair wouldn't fit in the black tarmac. What? What am I reading? Let me get some water. Maybe it's because I haven't eaten. I was reading stuff wrong. He kept going through the lobby into the parking lot. His hair might have fit in with the black tarmac and white painted lines, but the camouflage couldn't fool you. He was at the end of the row, moments away from getting into his car. Baxter! He turned around at the sound of your voice. Pushing yourself further, you shot down the wide open space. Oh. That was so aggressive. Princeton? Did something happen? Wait, please tell me it's not the chocolate fountain again. Your gait had slowed immensely in the final feet, and you came to a stumbling stop in front of Baxter. He waited patiently for an answer. Nothing is wrong. Well, that's a relief. You could have fooled me, however. You shouldn't be running out of the building if there are no issues. Go enjoy the damned fountain. Baxter's grin was teasing, harmless, though you didn't miss the layer of genuine frustration at the stupid machine after all the trouble it had caused. He smoothed his face and shirt out in fluid motions. I'll be fine. I'm going back. I just have to ask you something first. I'm all ears. Okay, so I know you've already done a lot for this party and us, but if you're not too exhausted, could you come here again tonight, around 7 p.m.? Baxter's almost unshakable smile was lost to suspicion. Not good. This was a surprise you were planning. You threw out the first cover that popped into your head before he could speak the obvious question on the tip of his tongue. The thing is, I don't want to ride home with Terry. We need your help cleaning up the party. It's important. I can't tell you why. I'm sorry. I just don't know what I'd do without you for that long. I love this answer, but I'm not gonna pick it. I don't want to ride home with Terry. Oh? It worked? His expression softened. It worked. Baxter was convinced you needed him. All doubts were settled. Certainly, Princeton. I'll be here at 7 on the dot. You gave his hand a quick squeeze. You gave him a quick hug. You gave him a quick kiss. Yes. It was brushed against his face in a tiny peck. It was only for a second. His warmth lingered even after. And so did the sparkle in his dark eyes. Thanks. I'll see you soon. Yes, you will. Baxter parted from you yet again, but as you saw him off, you felt good about it. This time, him leaving didn't mean he was simply gone. It meant you'd have time to prepare for his return. You found your way to the party room, just in time to sing Happy Birthday. Sliding alongside the rest of the group, you acted as if you never left. Cove chuckled and quietly welcomed you back. Terry's confetti cake was placed in front of Randy at the head of the table. The 19 candle you picked up from the store yesterday was lit by her dad. She blew it out in the room full of cheers. Her friends and family ate sandwiches, salad, and cake. The chocolate fountain was a huge hit too, thank goodness. Miranda, Cove, Cherry, and yourself even squirreled away a plate of extra desserts and snacks for the secret party. Soon, guests got a second wind and more dancing commenced, though you and your friends took it easy on the sidelines instead. Every single one of you enjoyed yourself to the fullest now, and you did for the final couple hours of the party. When it got closer to dinner time, guests began to trickle out little by little. Many of them came by to hug Miranda and wish her the best once more. That was how Miranda's 19th birthday concluded, and the preparation for the party planner appreciation party began. You informed the team on when Baxter would be arriving and how they couldn't dally. The four of you, plus Miranda's parents and siblings, cleaned up trash and took down the decorations that indicated a birthday was going on. One of the tables and sound system was left in place for the party planner appreciation party. You also recovered the white boa from under the table where Terry hid it earlier. It was still in pristine condition. Perfect. At 6:50, Miranda kindly used the laptop for her birthday girl power to ask her family to get out of there so her friends could have their own party. The Eckert clan accepted being kicked to the curb and graciously made themselves scarce. Jude held up a peace sign as he shut the door behind himself and the rest of the folks taking their leave. At 6:55, you double-checked the dance floor for any debris. It was spotless. At 6:58, you wandered around the room, trying to pick up the best place to stand and wait. Terry teasingly wondered aloud if that's what she looked like before Randy arrived. It was. At exactly 7, the door cracked open. "Excuse me, may I come in?" Unsure of what he was walking into, Baxter paused at the precipice. "Yeah, we've been waiting." That was all the encouragement needed. Baxter came into the party room. He smiled graciously at the cluster of people silently standing ahead of him. Cove leaned over stiffly like a balloon slowly deflating. He whispered awkwardly into your ear. "What are we supposed to say now? Are we shouting surprise for this?" "Right, let's all shout it," you whispered back. "Okay. Terry, Randy, now. Surprise!" Unexpected, not to mention the late exclamation of his interest gave Baxter a start. "How good of you to come, Baxter." With the way Terry rubbed her hands together and the vague sense of satisfaction in her tone, she was giving the impression he'd fallen into a nefarious trap. "Now the guests have finally arrived, and we can begin." "What do you mean? I should think the guests have left by this point." Baxter had a generously low-level confusion at the strangeness, merely raising his brow rather than making a hasty retreat. Even though Baxter would probably be the last person you knew who'd be scared off by villainous shenanigans, you decided to avoid any potential misunderstandings. "We've been waiting to start the party planner appreciation party." Party planner appreciation party, you say? "You've got it. This event is Miranda's birthday, no more." She dramatically crossed her arms over the other and flung them outwards, as if swearing off the entire concept of a birthday. "Terry had to rent this room for the entire day, even though we only needed it until the middle of the afternoon. So we decided to use the last few hours we had here to have another party. One that's for the group of us, so you're invited." You parted from the bunch to position yourself right in front of the stunned Baxter. He didn't flinch as you draped a white feather boa over his shoulders. Baxter's mouth opened wordlessly as he stared at your face. He tentatively lifted up a hand, brushing his fingers against the feathers surrounding him. He had to check that it was truly there. Then, his eyes still wide, a delighted grin grew across Baxter's face. "I must admit, I didn't expect it at all. I never should have doubted your abilities to throw a surprise party." Terry, Randy, and Cove crowded around the two of you to reform the group with the newest member. "Didn't I tell you the best way to have something to be real surprised is if you do it all at the last second so no one has a chance to put it together?" "Yes, you did. I suppose there are some advantages to that strategy after all." And so the party planner appreciation party commenced. You hung around the almost barren snack table. It was the only piece of furniture left behind from Randy's party. There weren't even chairs, mostly. Miranda had joked that Baxter could take the throne if he wanted to. That part came with the room. He courteously declined. Dinner was simple. More sandwiches and salad. It was also a mostly quiet meal, but that's exactly what was needed. At 7 a.m. the morning you left to prepare for Miranda's birthday, 12 hours later you're still here, lazily enjoying one another's company after our extremely long day. Couldn't be overappreciated. Uh... Cove wiped crumbs from his mouth after he was done eating and addressed Baxter without being spoken to first for a change. There's desserts for you, too. A slice of cake and one of the cupcakes? Thank you. I'd like to try the cake Terry made, but I've quite enough of the cupcakes. Fair enough. He was well acquainted with the confections, even if he'd never taken a single bite. Then can I have it? Please do. Don't forget the chocolate fountain. Terry jumped in with another sampling suggestion. The contraption was Baxter's second, arguably more formidable enemy of the event. It's still going. It's still going strong. You gotta try it. However, he chuckled. Alright, if you insist. Oh, I got a chocolate fountain image. Yay. For all the trouble it caused, the fountain had indeed kept flowing, though even as the night went on and dozens of desserts passed through it. It was the only part of the equation that was in good shape, however. A platter of goodies alongside it had become a plate of baddies. Why are they baddies? What remained was some snapped pretzel fractions, scraps of fruit, mostly the full-size granola bars. Cookies and marshmallows had, to the shock of no one, been a more popular choice. They were gone long before the first party had even finished. Not one to complain, Baxter plucked up a granola bar and slipped one end of into a rippling sheet of liquid chocolate that he melted himself. Cove wasn't going to settle for that, despite being the one who brought them. He tore off a piece of the second cupcake of the night and stuck it into the fountain. His fingers got coated as well. Ew. Baxter languidly watched Cove make a careless mess. You know, the food that crumbly will get into the chocolate and... never mind. Smirking, Baxter removed the bar from the fountain, flipped around. Oh my gosh. He leaned his backpack? Where did he get a backpack from? He leaned his backside against the edge of the table. What does it matter if the chocolate clumps? I wouldn't care if the fountain broke at this point. The point was punctuated with a satisfied bite into the chocolate-covered granola bar. It's good. No matter how definitively he made the statement, it was hard to tell if he was being serious or not. Skip the pretzel pieces, dunking pieces of leftover cake. I would never. I'm gonna try my pretzel. The chunks were so tiny it would struggle to get any chocolate on them without plunging your whole hand in. Sure, it wasn't ideal, but it was fun. The slim pickings became non-existent pickings. Even the most daring among you had to call it quits on the fountain. Terry used the final chance to fulfill her most base urge, sticking her tongue directly into the shrimp chocolate. Miranda giggled and squirmed at how wrong it was. Terry gave a thumbs up, putting her body parts to the contraption was recommended, apparently. Terry cleaned herself off before making a new announcement. This isn't a birthday celebration, so you know what that means? It's not weird to have slow dancing as our main event. Pardon me? Dancing? This party of 5 is going to have slow dancing? Baxter questioned what he was hearing. Not in the fun, this is too good to be true way, but in a tone that was almost accusatory, like you'd gotten him in a trap after all. I'm beginning to get the impression that this impromptu event is less for the entire group and more specifically for me. Once again, the group became divided between the 4 of you together and the one outsider, and as always, it was self-imposed. Baxter's arms folded as his gaze wandered over each of the faces around him. He was searching for a reason. He wanted to know Baxter's motivation for his own behavior. Well, it was called the Party Planner Appreciation Party. I wasn't the one who made the party. He countered immediately, defensively. You and Terry had bigger roles than I did. The chilly reception didn't hamper Terry whatsoever. Perhaps she took him from being shy in the spotlight. She wandered away and hit the music, setting it to a lovely tone with a gentle pace. A nice enough song could smooth out any of the bumps. He is so angry. I'm scared. Baxter remained defiant, waiting motionlessly for a response to what he said. He couldn't and wouldn't accept the situation. Under the kind of pressure, Miranda glanced at the floor and Cole sheepishly turned from Baxter to look at you for guidance. I see. That was enough of a hint for it all to be clear. You were the planner for the party. Of course, that's how it happened. Was what you read in his expression. Baxter no longer traded stares among the crowd. He didn't see anyone else in the room except for you. Surprise again! You left me no choice. It was only fair. I couldn't just leave you out. You deserve some thanks. You met his gaze silently. Surprise again! He took in a breath through his nose and curled his ringed fingers into a fist. I'm like the worst. I'm the worst at this. Cause I got a comment on my what's his name? The one with the family. I forgot their names. I know there's Nico's older brother, about how I got like every single answer wrong. And that it was just it was just bad. And so I feel like maybe I'm not good at dating sims. I just like the funniest answers sometimes. It's funny to me. You'd have to take the initiative this time. For the second time that night, you approached Baxter, then you offered him your hand. Want to dance? A crease in his brows cracked Baxter's hardened expression. It was frustrating and wonderful to him, and you had your suspicions on why he struggled with the gesture. Delicately, and still without another word, he accepted. For the moment, Baxter could let go of his concerns by holding on to you. Oh, he's not happy. Hand in hand, you walked into the center of the lit-up floor. The room was so quiet you could make out bits of conversation the others were having. Terry offered to dance with either Randy or Cove. Both of them refused, with varying degrees of nervousness. Terry could only laugh. She knew it was coming. Out of the normal group, you might have been bold enough to do that with her, but you already had a partner. But that meant you had the whole space to yourselves. Though at first you could only prompt Baxter into swaying in place. With time and encouragement, the dance moved onward until Baxter swept around the room with you like the pro he was. He flowed along with his steps effortlessly. With the song ended, the enchantment both of you were under vanished. Baxter settled himself enough to speak to you. So? He murmured pleasantries a hair's breadth away from your face. Was the birthday party a success? Everyone had a great time, especially Miranda. Baxter's lips quirked. It must have been a relief to know for certain that nothing fell apart once he made his retreat. Thank you for everything, but it went by in a flash. I'm sorry you couldn't be there. I hope you'll get some well-deserved sleep after this. You did a fantastic job. You smiled too. I hope you get some sleep. You look tired, babes. Sorry for keeping you up even longer. Don't be. This is more than worth the trouble. His eyes closed and placed one foot back. Only for a second, he thought better of that and brought it back in line with the other leg. I'm not lying when I say this is one of the grandest occasions I've attended. Confessed by a man wearing a $2 feather boa standing in the final remnants of a birthday party thrown together in 2 days. That scene had to be a far cry from the formal events you were certain he'd attended throughout his life before coming the Sunset Bird, yet you didn't doubt the earnestness of his words for a second. I apologize if I did not give that impression initially. I hate to be a bother, and you went to so much trouble. You'd nearly forgotten you'd let go of each other after the dance until Baxter's grip around your hand tightened. It doesn't matter. The effort is sincerely appreciated. In a way, Terry had been right. Even Baxter Ward could be bashful in certain regards. That was okay. You were just glad he enjoyed himself in the end. You rested your head against him. You kissed him. You held him closer. You were grateful for this dance. Kiss him! You were sleepy and relieved and could finally be happy with your charming suitor. He accepted the affection readily this time, pressing into you sweetly. Thank you for inviting me to your party, Princeton. His eyes were still dancing, even if his feet had stopped, but his words carried the weight of finality with them. there was a joy he found in the fleetingness of it all. Just like this might be your last big party with Terry, Miranda, and Cove, it could very well be the first and final time for Baxter, too. He accepted that as a certainty. Baxter was always so ready to leave with parties and the town on the whole. He treated everything that came his way as temporary, to merely be embraced while he could and then to freely release. Even though you knew that, even if he'd never done anything differently, you hoped he would keep having a reason to return as long as you reached out to him. Oh my god, was that it? And then summer ended? Okay. I I'm gonna take a break. You're gonna keep streaming, but I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. And then summer ended. Hold on. Let me save. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to the game. Moths bounced against the window, attracted by the light of the room. A siren called on the slowly darkening sky just as the day was coming to an end. So too would summer. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own journey began. She had officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. That was our last chance to see you all in person for her. You clicked through the plans for the... You clicked? You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't know when you'd have the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd likely be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. I love Chinese food. I like Chinese food. You know that it's true. It was somewhere your family had always enjoyed going ever since you and Liz were teeny. That says tiny, but I wanted to say teeny. The long-standing connection made it fitting location for a final meal out before Liz and Lee set off again. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening. Not the dog ASMR in the background. The kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it or by rushing around. While ideally gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes that must have been left for you by your parent earlier. You headed over to the table to flick through anything of interest. As a child, your correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. You recognized now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more regularly of late. It was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, school you applied to. Open it instantly. You had to see what was going to say, regardless of whether it was good or bad, as soon as you could. You pulled open the glued flap on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Your eyes started over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. And now not the ad happening now. The blood pounding in your ears, deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict. You'd been accepted. Oh my god, we got into Princeton. You were ecstatic. Bouncing on the balls of your feet, you pressed the letter to your chest as your excitement bubbled over. You had to tell your family right away. You'd make an announcement at dinner. You wanted to keep this news to yourself. You wanted to tell Cove. I'll make the announcement at dinner. You tried your best to finish getting yourself ready for the dinner ahead. It was a strain. Your mind had only have been on the task before. Now with the news fresh in your mind, it was a struggle to concentrate on anything else. You kept having to recall your thoughts from the future and back to the present. Time was against you. Mom soon called down the stairs that it was time for you to go. You had to check the time. Sure that you had 10 or at least 5 minutes left. You were wrong. Damn. Not me having poor time management. You tore down the stairs, attempting to juggle your composure among the hurry and excitement. Your moms, who turned to greet you as you arrived, swapped silent, knowing looks. They couldn't possibly have figured out what happened, or so you hoped. As your moms, they were pretty good at telling things without being told. You watched them hunting for any further signs. What schools are like good design schools? SCAD? Juilliard? I don't know. Can you become a lawyer at Juilliard? You watched them, hunting for further signs that they were on the case, but none came. For now, it didn't seem like they knew what was happening. Not exactly, at least, but things were definitely happening, and even if they didn't know for sure you were cooking up, they could smell something in the air. Everyone piled into the car. What was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice, it had made for a very tight fit. Your mother sitting in the front were fine. Your moms sitting in front were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, you pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered out of the middle seat, then headed into the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let them know. Are there any Chinese restaurants that... you know what? Yeah. Sorry. I didn't finish my thought. I was like, that has indoor seating? Like, they have seating indoors, but, like, are you allowed to eat there? Are there, like, Chinese restaurants? I haven't seen any lately where, like, you can actually sit down and eat there. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you were there, how many of you there would be in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drink order had been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though your mom waving an arm in the air was hardly necessary. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table. As the greetings were being exchanged, Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Mr. Holden sat beside him. It's great to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am. You came to the right place then. There was some laughter, though Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she would have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. There we go. Menus were soon passed around. Temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before and light chatter about what people would consider tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up. So, I've got some good news. Kyra's making a trip out here tomorrow. Good for her. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured it'd be a good time for everyone. That's great. Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful. If only we'd known. Here we are, having a big meal without her. If we waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities and what-ifs and back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up, Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. Miles smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now. There'll be more good news and good times on the horizon. Right, and speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight on his chair, face angled towards the sun. He barely let a beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down and staring at his lap as he spoke. It's just, I switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. Oh, good for you. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'm proud of you, guy. It'll be pretty busy going forward. apartments. He was moving. Cove was going to move out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Mr. Holden gripped, well, he's not going to be my neighbor anymore either because I'm going off to college. Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible. Cove's actually going to make it to adulthood. It's a miracle. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder. I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point, but thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could have asked for. Dad. Cove blinkered his vision with his hands on his side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy. I was really lucky, too. You're a good dad. Aw, come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on the top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. As the spotlight thrust on Cove dimmed, you decided this was as good a time as any to make your own announcement. Can I share my news too? Of course. Lay it on us. I don't know who said that. I got my acceptance letter today. I'm going to college soon. Nice, Princeton. That's wonderful, sweetie. Ma roped you into a hug, her arms quicker than any lasso. You were thankful you were sat next to her. If not, you didn't doubt that she would have dived over the table to reach you in her excitement. Cute. Hey, let me in on the hug. Your arms pincered you in a hug, leaning from chairs to squeeze you in tandem. Liz beamed at you from across the table. Good job, Princeton. Lee didn't hide her excitement, clapping her hands in open delight. That's amazing! You're gonna be amazing! Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up. Impressive. You're a good kid. The world's your oyster. Cove grinned at you from across the table. That's amazing. It's incredible. You did it. Congratulations, Princeton. Thanks. No, seriously, this is really, really big, and you deserve it so much. Look around at the faces of the company here. You've been on this journey with everyone here for years, seeing them falter and grow, and they had watched you go through the same. Now you were striking out on a new path. Cove was leaving his family home. Liz was heading back to college, and Lee was staring at hers. Starting hers. You were all heading in different directions, different destinations, some near, some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. Hearts full of pride for everyone. You held your head aloft as you looked forward, literally and metaphorically. It was amazing how far you'd all come. You were sure that you would face each day that would come head on, knowing that you had people who cared about you backing up, even if it was from a distance. You couldn't wait to see what happened next. Cove brought some attention to himself with the clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're waiting for food and everything. Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness in his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. I'm trying to get this cover on. It's a little chilly. It's warmed up, but it's still a little chilly. And it's gonna rain. I guess, what's today? Wednesday? I think it's gonna rain tomorrow and Friday. Well, actually, no, it's not gonna rain tomorrow. Let me look at the weather. What's the weather saying? It's gonna rain Friday and Saturday, and then on my birthday, it's not gonna rain. And then it's gonna rain the rest of the weeks. It's gonna get cold. Ow. Ow. Just pulled a clump of my hair out. Oh no. Oh no. With those parting words, the two of you walked around the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Cole started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to you, face you. But it was an awkward moment. Well, I wanted to talk to you one-on-one about all this. You know, my work, moving. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. Yeah, it's exciting. Excuse me. Cove stopped picking at his shirt and seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset about it. Why would I? You're not my baby boo. I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down at his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes and to instead rub at his arm. Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. Come on, you don't need to worry. You're gonna do great things. So you're saying you're gonna dress up as a future for Halloween? What a lame joke. You're gonna do great things. You're so nice to me. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arm around himself. You felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. I was just thinking. Are we really gonna stay friends? Maybe. His words came out hesitantly. He didn't want to ask this. He didn't want to know. It's not just talking. I'm not just talking about today, but forever. Always. That's a game. Even if it's changed later. Wait, right now, do you feel we can make it? Or do you think we can't last? That one day we'll have to move on? I'm gonna keep calm. I understood his concern. It was definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you didn't let yourself get upset. I don't know, but it's gonna be alright. Not his face. Not his face. You couldn't know the future, so you didn't have a definite answer. That being said, you still believed you'd make it through somehow. You had to. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I wanted to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. That's right. Oh no, I can't believe you're going to be forced to have hope about life. I'm happy to hear that. You're welcome. Cole rolled his eyes and tried not to smile. Thanks for listening to me, Princeton. It helped. You felt pleased that his anxiety had eased after talking it out. Want to go back to the table? I bet everyone's wondering what we've been up to. Oh, yeah, I forgot what we were doing here. That'd be good. What do you mean? What do you mean you forgot what we were doing here? We're here to eat. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter, and it showed. You seem happy. What was that? Yeah, it looked like you were having quite the conversation over there. It's neighbor stuff. Sorry. I used to be your neighbor. You know what? Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up, Liz. You waved off their questions. You didn't offer any explanations. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. I meant to scratch my head. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted it to stay between the two of you and let it drop. Things relaxed, and you took a sip of your drink. Lee idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place. I haven't been here in a long time. I hope it's as good as I remember. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issue. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic and Mom snorted. A tough crowd. Jeez, Liz. Mom giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie. Jeez. Oh, jeez, Louise. I'm shaking my head of the silliness. Why was your family like this? Jeez. Everyone burst out laughing besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were sitting in the parking lot, saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going to be going by in the blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers over your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. And your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes. Your mind drifted back to everything that happened that day. You could see it now, behind your eyelids, as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then an empty cove popped into your head and you smiled softly to yourself. You decided to send him a text. You texted him to come over. You wanted to sneak out to his room. You were feeling tired, so you snuggled deeper in your bed. I'm feeling tired. I'm snuggling deeper. It wasn't long before your eyes were growing heavy and you drifted off into the peaceful sleep. Next morning, you woke slowly from a comfortable dream, finding yourself safe and warm and tucked up in the bed. With a small stretch, you opened your eyes to the sun shining in through the window. After waking up a little more and getting ready, you headed downstairs to find your family all gathered around the kitchen area. Good morning. You greeted them all, receiving a chorus of good mornings back in return. You nodded in acknowledgement as you headed into the kitchen to find some breakfast. A knock at the door caught your attention and curiosity pulled you to follow several steps behind Mom as she went to answer it. Oh, hey girl! Cole was waiting there with both his parents. Morning. Hi there. Surprised at the sight, Mom paused a moment, and then she pulled Kyra into a big hug. Meanwhile, you approached the doorway and flashed a small smile at Cove. Kyra, it's been too long. I know, time's been flying. Kyra's gaze slid over to you as she waved. Hi there, Princeton. Hey, welcome back. Kyra chuckled at your small wave. I'm glad to be back. Enough standing around out there, come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in and guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. Yes, we'd be thrilled to host you. It was eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kyra, but Cove looked around the room filled with familiar faces before speaking up. Maybe, instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated the idea happily. Excited, Kyra clapped her hands together. Oh, we could really make a day of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. That sounds lovely, Cove. Everyone else put on their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. I forgot this is going to be a long-ass day. It's going to be a long-ass day. Sandwiches had to be made, water, sunscreen towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. An hour later, both your family and Coves were walking down the old path to the beach. The mornings were already turning into a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there. The sight always filled you with wonder. Hey, Princeton. I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda, see if they can come too. Everyone else is pretty much already here, so would your family mind? That'd be cool. I'd ask them. You were already so excited at the prospect of seeing your friends today that you immediately darted away in the direction of your mom went. Behind you could hear the familiar sound of Cole laughing. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. Ma looked to Mom to see what she thought. There we go. She nodded in agreement. Mom then shot a glance over at Mr. Holden and Kyra, knowing that they had likely heard everything. Cliff, Kyra, what do you two think? The more the merrier. Okay. Of course, they're welcome with me. Thanks. Delighted, you nodded and turned on your heels. Cove, still several feet away, talking to Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beaming smile, you gave him a thumbs up. and the two of them must have also approved, as Cole quickly got his phone out and started making the calls. At that, you turn your attention to helping with a picnic setup. Unexpectedly, your phone started ringing. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID, feeling your heart jump with excitement. You answered the video call request. Video call request? It was Derek. Oh. Derek! That was his name. Hey, it's been a while. Seriously. But what's up? Why does he look different? Why is he not buff, muscular? The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you first met. I don't remember this voice I was going to give him, so. But it still had the exact same amount of enthusiasm of a kid. Have you been enjoying those crazy summer days? There's been ups and downs. Yeah, that happens. Bright side, at least it's almost over then. What about you? How's your summer been? You were beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? What else is new? I bet you're even more toned now. I'm not flirting with him. He's not my man. You only really struggle by choosing your only real struggle will be choosing which places to go. They'll be desperate to have you. Wish you nothing but good luck. You know what? I'm gonna be positive. Totally. The chuckle turned into a sigh. You could hear a small smile when he spoke. I really hope so, anyway. That would be amazing. What about your family? Are your brothers being good? My little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. We both laughed at that. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to the surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family's buzzing around. Towels were laid out, chairs and umbrellas were being set up. Actually, I'm out with my mom's right now. Liz and Lee are visiting too. Oh, that's fun, but that's the deal. I'll let you get back to it. Are you sure? I don't mind. I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. Okay, bye. Bye, Princeton. Have a heck of a day. Hanging up the conversation that left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make this day even better. That was cute. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food out. In moments, you noticed Cove at your side. So, what did they say? They're gonna come. Cool, thanks for calling them. No problem. I'm glad I thought of it. They'll meet us here later today. Shouldn't be too long. I can't wait. Well, on the topic of inviting people to join, you realized there was someone else you could call as well. You'd gotten Baxter's number earlier that summer. Message him. Everyone else was going to be there. You didn't want him to be left out. You sent him a text and hoped he'd show. After that, you made sure to mention what you'd done. No one seemed to mind. Once the setup was done, everyone was comfortable and dug into the food. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attributed it to the gorgeous view and soothing sea breeze. Morning swiftly gave away to afternoon, and a very recognizable face came walking down the shore. It was Baxter. He came. You pleasantly approached a wave. Still in his skinny jeans. Hello there. I appreciate the invite to the party. Of course, you're welcome with us. We know how fond Princeton is of you. Hey. Oh, that's so kind. Yeah, you're one of the neighbors. Kick back and relax with us. Thank you. Baxter's gaze moved over to you and Cove. He smiled. Princeton, Cove, good to see you. Hi. You waved from where you leisurely sat and Cove nodded. I'm glad you decided to come. So am I. We meet again. Yes, lucky for me. Hey now. That's my man, Lee. A few giggles escaped Lee as she watched Baxter. It was then that Baxter noticed the face he didn't immediately recognize from around the neighborhood. He turned up his charm even more for the introduction. Excuse me, I'm Baxter Ward. I'm sorry we haven't met before. Well, I'm not typically from around this area. Just visiting. I'm Cove's mom. Oh, I'll remember that. It's nice to meet you. After that, Baxter spent some time getting better acquainted with everyone, and Terry and Miranda arrived excitedly. The conversation shifted to what you all would do next. We could do a few rounds of volleyball. There's plenty of us now. Could I play? Of course. Miranda brightened, delighted with this plea. Miranda looked around to see if there was any other takers. I don't feel like playing. I'd have to change, but it'd be fun to watch. I could be the ref. My eyes won't miss a thing. Volleyball's a good idea, but there should probably be something happening for those who aren't a fan. Oh, I have some crafting supplies you could use to make jewelry. We could even use stuff we find around the beach to accentuate it. What? Really? I want to make a necklace. I'd be interested in trying my hand at that too. Impromptu crafting is my kind of party. I'd like to join too, please. Looks like I gotta go make some jewelry. Already you were imagining various designs. I mean, I should have done it anyway as a future fashion designer. You can make depending on what lead let you use. Your cousin shot up a thumbs up, clearly happy with your decision. I guess I'm making a necklace too. Kyra got up from the towel she was sitting on. She brushed some sand off her legs and then stretched her arms over her head. I'm up for a few rounds. Well, since there is still a free spot, I'll throw my hat in the ring. The things I do for family. Thank you, Liz. I'd love that. Liz got up from where she was sitting. You could tell by her expression that she was already determined to win. You laughed to yourself, curious now how the game would turn out. Now the plans were settled, the group temporarily split into two. Let me pop back to the house to get my supplies. Anything we can do while you're gone? Yes. You can start clearing out the towels for us to work at, and if you want, look around for good stuff to use. Roger that. While Lee ran back to the house, the group did as she suggested. By the time she returned, everyone had their craft area ready to work at. Lee sat down on one of the towels and looked up at everyone eagerly. She held up two necklace options. I hope you all been thinking about what you want to make. I have for everyone a choice of either a chain or a threaded rope. How do I pick? All I know is that I want to put some sea glass chunks on it. That is a charming idea. His gaze went back and forth between Lee's two necklace-based options. You could tell he was thinking quite hard about it. I can't decide anything for mine. No rush. I'll leave the strands here and you can decorate it however you want later. I hope I'll use whatever I spotted on the beach first. Fate can decide. I think I'll keep it classic and only worry about finding a decent shell. I'm planning on doing shells too. I'll do sea glass. I'm gonna hunt for a handful of shells. Driftwood. Ooh, stones. I'll just wait and see. I don't have a plan. Baxter nodded, obviously able to relate to that mindset. Cove crossed his arms and chewed at the inside of his cheek. You weren't the only one that noticed. What's wrong, Cove? I'm not sure what to use. I mean, ideally I want a shark tooth, but what are the chances I would even find one? Mom smiled. You both looked at him sympathetically. Sorry, the fair downside of not having a shark-filled coast. That would make for a really nice necklace, though. At Cove's pouting, Mom gave him a little bump on the shoulder with her fist. Well, don't lose all hope. You never know. You might end up really lucky. Cove laughed. It cheered him up, even though he wasn't really convinced. After that, the little crafting club busily went to work on their pieces. Whatever they decided on using was attached in loops that were then slid onto their necklace base. Terry was immensely proud of herself when she was done. Hers was simple but gorgeous because of the striking piece of sea glass she painstakingly searched for and found. Baxter excitedly showed his finished piece to everyone. He stayed true to his word and used various materials he found along the beach. The necklace looked like it had good weight from the clutter. He always had an eclectic style, it seemed. Cove ended up using driftwood of varying lengths to design his necklace. Despite not finding any shark teeth, he still looked pretty pleased. Mom decided on a medium-sized purple ring top shell as the centerpiece of hers, and Lee with a few small Simnia shells. They both put their necklaces on after finishing them. After combing the beach several times, you found just what you were looking for. It took a bit, but you managed to make a necklace you were satisfied with. It mostly had driftwood. That doesn't sound like me. Your group of crafters would also cheer for the volleyball players whenever shouts could be heard coming out of the court. On top of that, you all would hold up each newly made piece in the air, and the others would take a breather to applaud the creation. You enjoyed searching the beach, trading supplies, and watching everyone make their necklaces. The crafting club was definitely a success, and you weren't the only one that had a blast. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Occasionally, someone would head back to the house to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun for a while, or to retrieve something that they needed, but they always came back. The beach was never empty, and there was always a new conversation to take part in or another game to join. At one point, Mr. Holden even broke out his pack of cards. He roped the whole group into a few rounds of good old Go Fish. There was only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end, and that was for the day itself to end. Before anyone realized it, the sun began to set over the sea. As that happened, you were taking a break, sitting on a towel with your legs stretched out past it and your feet buried in the warm sand. Shortly, you looked up to see your mom approaching. They stopped in front of you and you smiled. "Hey there, kiddo. How are you doing?" "I'm doing really good. How about you?" "We're wonderful." They both sat down, squishing you between them. Mom leaned her head against yours, and Mom started rubbing your back soothingly. Nothing more was said at first, but Ma sighed contentedly. Mom looked at you wistfully. "We're both really proud of you, Princeton. You grew up to be more than we could ever have hoped. It's only thanks to you two." Ma wrapped her arm around your middle and squeezed you tightly in a side hug. Mom continued lightly scratching your back. "That means a lot, but I still think you're selling yourself short. You've always been a lovely person, and I'm thrilled to know you." Your voice faltered, and you couldn't imagine your life any other way. Ma lightly brushed some of the hair back and left a small kiss there. "I'm so happy I have both of you as my moms." After that, all three of you were sitting there getting all sentimental. "I don't know how we got so lucky with you and Liz." Ma reached out in front of you for Mom's hand. She gave it to her, and Mom squeezed it. Princeton has a point. We must have done something right." You stayed there quietly and contentedly, watching the sunset with your parents for a while, until Mr. Holden called out to you. He was still walking in your direction. "We were talking and thinking we were gonna walk down the shore. Any of you want to come?" I feel like I did not read that right, but that's okay. Automatically, you looked to your moms for what they were thinking. Mom glanced from you to Ma and smiled. "That sounds good to me." "Yeah, that'd be very nice. My legs need some stretching." "Let's go." Thrilled, Mr. Holden threw out a thumbs up and began heading back the way he came in a light jog. "Hey, don't leave us in the dust." Cliff kept going forward but flipped around, walking backwards across the sand so he could face you again. "Don't worry, we won't leave without you." "All right, we'll catch up." "Ready to go?" "Uh-huh." Both of your moms held a hand out to you. Chuckling, gave them each one, and you all strolled back to the rest of the group. When Liz was in reach, Ma used her free hand to pull her into it. Liz shook her head, but her mouth quirked into a smirk, and she didn't resist. Together as a family, you followed behind the others hand in hand. You felt squished. Your feet squished into the wet sand as the waves rolled over them, and you didn't have a single care in the world as more and more stars began to dot the sky. Once the sun had been out of sight, it was finally time to pack up. The closing of the day and the ever-approaching end of summer seemed to intertwine. It was caused quite reflective mood to blanket over the group. On the beach, Terry and Miranda took turns compressing Cove in a hug before moving on to do the same to you. You chuckled, still overjoyed that you got to see them today. I'm sorry we have to go already. My parents are here. That's okay. But still, I wish we could help clear this up. Don't worry about it. Thanks for coming out today. It was cool having everyone here. Oh yeah, I'm super glad we came. Hopefully we can do it again sometime. Nodding, you turned your attention to Terry. She wore a large grin on her face and held a hand out for a low 5. You obliged. Take care of yourselves, buddies. After that, they walked away, waving to you and Cove as you went down the shore. Cove waved quietly back with a small smile on his face. Have a safe trip back. We will. Bye. Taking you by surprise, Terry jumped and twisted around. She kept up with Miranda by walking backwards. She kept the mood of her farewell light by shooting finger guns at you and Cove. Miranda bumped her with the hip. It left everyone with a laugh just before they disappeared down the bend. Princeton? Hey, Cove. Could you come here? Whether your parents were motioning for you, the two of you went to them. Two of the things ended up on the beach over the course of the day, so there were so there were still so much to pack, and the parents needed help. With a nod, you got to it, stuffing various things into bags and bundling them up in towels. Once things were ready to go, everyone filled their arms with as much as they could carry. Absolutely no one wanted this to be back and forth kind of task. The walk back ended up being mostly quiet. Each person seemed to be feeling the efforts of the day. A cool breeze carried you across the sand and onto the road. There was a sigh of relief from what felt like the group as a whole when they arrived back in the neighborhood. Baxter carefully placed what he had been carrying on the ground. Thank you so much for helping with that. No, thank you for allowing me to join today. You all shared with me. Helping to carry it back is the least I can do. Mom nodded and the others started collecting their things from the pile. Baxter meanwhile stepped over to you and Cove. It was a pleasure. His head tilted towards you and he smiled warmly. Will I see you again? Tomorrow is my last day. Yeah, definitely I'll visit you. Thank you, Princeton. And I don't expect you to do the same, Cove. Oh, alright, I won't. Baxter turned to shake Cove's hand this time. He was a little incredulous for a moment, but then Cove eventually shifted what he was carrying and took Baxter's hand. It wasn't long, but it was a solid handshake. Baxter was clearly pleased. Wish we had more time together, but it was a nice ride while it lasted. Would happily do it all over again. Bye. See you soon, Baxter. Baxter nodded and walked a few steps toward his condo. He then stopped and waved. Goodbye. Baxter sauntered away completely and disappeared inside the condo to return to his own things. His time with you and your family and friends ending. He paused for a moment, staring at where he went. Afterwards, she looked back over the rest of the group. Lee and Liz were just going inside your house. You couldn't spot Kyra or Mr. Holden anywhere, but the door to the house was wide open. Mom approached you with an amused look on her face. It seems like you're holding up some Holden things. Stop. Mom, don't quit your day job. Surprised you glanced down to take a quick inventory of what you were holding. Mom was right, some of it belonged to the neighbors. Would you mind dropping it off now? Can do, it's not a problem. Thank you very much. Cove took a few steps towards his house and stopped, waiting for you. Good night, Cove. I'll see you inside, Princeton. Night. You caught up to Cove and together you went over to his house, walking into the front door. You saw Kyra and Mr. Holden busily unpacking already. Things were scattered on counters, and they were moving around each other, putting the items away. They both lifted their heads when Cove closed the front door. Hey. It's nice to see you again, Princeton. Her teasing tone brought a light smile to your face. You hefted the stuff in your arms a little closer. I ended up with things of yours from the beach. Oh, thanks for getting that to us. You can put it, here on that coffee table. Mr. Holden pointed at the surface he was referring to, and you immediately left what didn't belong to your family there. Cove put his own things down on the floor just at his feet, wading through everything stern about to reach his parents. Putting your family stuff on the ground for a moment, you dusted your hands off and straightened up. You needed a second of rest, and a minute to resituate it all. You went over closer to where Cove and his parents were. Kyra smiled gently at you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. It was a blast. I had a ton of fun. Every time I've gotten to come by, it's an absolute joy. Things really couldn't have worked out better. Mr. Holden took a closer step to you. Kyra moved aside to let him say goodbye to. He grinned. Thanks for always being such a friendly neighbor. And not just right now, but for as long as I've known you. I didn't always make it easy, but you and your family are good people. I really truly appreciate it. Thanks again, Princeton. So much. At that, Mr. Holden reached over and gave you a soft pat on the top of your head. Can I pat him back? You're good people, too. You smiled softly. Mr. Holden looked away for a moment and sniffled. When he met your gaze once more, he smiled pulled into a wide, happy grin. It means a lot to me. Mr. Holden was staring at you, but his gaze seemed far away. Maybe he was looking back at who you used to be, the 8-year-old he had asked to be his son's new friend. Bye, Princeton. He smiled softly. Then Cove took a step forward. He gestured to his pile of things he had carried into the house. Don't worry about all that. I'll put stuff away in a few minutes. Right, I need to go do the same with my family. I figured. Cove walked you to the door and held it open. Taking one last check around to make sure you had all your things to bring home, you went into the road. He leaned his body against the door frame, not following you out. So, this is it, huh? Actually, that's not what I meant. His expression twisted and he shook his head a bit, like he was trying to banish the pensive thoughts. I'll just say bye. Bye. I'll see you soon. Mouth pulled into a soft smile, and you weren't sure who you were trying to reassure more. Cove reached forward and patted your arm reassuringly, and he kept his hands there, lightly holding onto your arm. He nodded. One of his hands grabbed onto the door handle and firmly held it. He stopped himself from coming along with you. As you walked over to your own front door, you stopped. Turning around, you spotted Cove right where you left him. You laughed quietly to yourself. For a small pause, you both stared at each other from across the street. Not blowing him a kiss. Good night. Night. You shouted across the way to one another. He moved one of his arms in a big wave so you couldn't miss it. Things couldn't be dragged out any longer. After one more shared smile, you opened the door and went inside, shutting it behind you. A few steps in, you saw your family gathered in the living room. They were still busy unpacking and cleaning, and you added the things you brought to the pile on the kitchen counter. Mom stood up, rubbing her eyes a bit. She yawned loudly. I'm pushed. How will we finish the rest of these chores tomorrow? Yes, honestly, it's late for this. Please and thank you. Ma put her hands on her hips and turned to assess the room. Ma was not one who liked to leave a mess about, but she sighed. I suppose we can make an exception for the usual rule. It has been a really long day. Liz grinned contentedly. Lee wasted no time in skipping over to you and honked you. She honked me. She hooked you into a side hug. Good night. I hope you have the loveliest of dreams. Hope you have good dreams too. Lee's smile widened till it went from ear to ear. That would be a fantastic way to cap off today and start tomorrow. Here's to us, Princeton. Tonight, tomorrow, and forever. You're really lucky. Lucky how? You only poked her at the top of her torso. Because you get to be my cousin. Lee giggled, smiling happily. Fine, you're right. I am lucky. Lee stretched her arms high over her head. She yawned loudly and looked at you with tired eyes. I think that's my cue to head to bed. Bye. I think so too. Have fun sharing the room with Liz. She laughed at that, and Lee shuffled off towards the guest bedroom. Before you had a chance to do anything else, you could feel the top of your head being tapped. You Spun around to see Liz smirking. Nighty night, I'm heading to bed too. It's been a long day and I have a lot to prepare for tomorrow. Exhaling, you automatically started fixing the back of your hair. When Liz didn't immediately walk away, you smiled softly at her. Everything okay? Her gaze moved away, and you knew she had more to say. You waited patiently for Liz to compose her thoughts. It's been a good summer. It's nice to come back home. You nodded, and Liz gave you a teasing nudge as she went by. Amused, you turned and watched her go. Love you, baby brother. Love you too. Liz stopped walking and stared at you for a moment. She smiled softly at you. Get some sleep soon. Morning will be faster than you know it. I will. When Liz was out of sight, Mom started up the next conversation over her shoulder. Aren't you heading up to bed too? I'm gonna relax first. Desperately, you needed some time to decompress and clear your mind. You worried if you went off to bed now that you would end up staring at the ceiling all night. Okay. Mom came over too, smiling understandingly. She pulled you into a big hug. All right, you do what you need to. I love you. When you were done hugging Mom pulled you into another hug. Your actions basically handing you off to the other had you laughing jovially. I love you so much. I love you too. Aww. They both couldn't resist taking turns hugging you again. Your smile widened. It felt good to be so loved. Good night, kiddo. Sleep tight. Good night, sweetie. Night. After that, your mom headed off towards the bedroom down the hall. You were about to turn the other direction when you heard Mom's voice. And don't let the bed bugs bite. You heard Ma chuckling as you watched them go with a smile. Time had passed when you weren't entirely sure how much. Sighing, you sat up on the couch. It was a good rest and all the tired muscles felt relaxed. You got up planning on going to bed when something out of the window caught your eye. You felt your feet brought you right in front of the large window spanning the length of the back wall. You stared out of the hills behind your house. As if on cue, your phone came on, alerting you to a new notification. It was Cove. I'm not coming out to see you, man. Want to hang out on the hill tonight? Girl, no. Something inside of you told you that this was the right kind of night to take a trip out there. You sent him back a very quick message. Yeah. No. You went over to the front door and stepping out over the threshold, you gave the living room one last glance over your shoulder. Then you shut the door behind you. Suddenly, you made your way to the Poppy Hill. With night steps, yes. With light steps in the dark, you walked across the hills behind your house. Up ahead at the very top, silhouetted beneath the night sky, was a familiar figure already waiting there. Smiling, you wondered just how he always got there first. You even had the advantage of living closer. That's because he was already there. He was just waiting for you. Then again, and maybe it was only your mind, but somehow Cove was intrinsically linked with this place. After all these years, it'd be weird to scan the horizon and not find him there, as surreal as the shore without the sea. The distance between you was growing shorter by the second. Hearing the grass and earth crunch under your feet, Cove turned. A grin spread over his face as he saw you. You took your place standing behind him on the crest of Poppy Hill, looking over at the ocean. Same as you'd done countless times since he'd first arrived, when you'd found him on his very same spot. Princeton. He had officially broken the silence, the spell that held you both in place. You looked at him expectantly. What is this? Oh, it's my Pez. It's just under my hat. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. Yes, I like men. No, I don't like you. If you were curious, if that's what you were wondering about. He cocked his head, giving you a sidelong glance. What did you think about when we met? I was just a kid you'd never seen before, bawling his eyes out on the hill next to your house. He chuckled, his eyes drifting towards the sea beyond, before flicking back to you. The way his gaze pulled back to you made it clear that he was genuinely invested in this topic. Luckily for him, you remember what initially struck you in that moment as if it would have only happened yesterday. Well, I remember noticing your very bright green hair. Cove burst into genuine laughter at your reply. Yes, that's fair. It did kind of stand out. Chuckling a bit, you continued to reminisce about that first meeting. I also remember wanting you to stop crying already. I remember that too. He ran a hand through his hair, and you knew his line of questioning wasn't at an end, even before he spoke again. Do you remember what you thought about me, as a person? Was I annoying or mean or... I just worried about you because you were so upset. No. I didn't know what to make of you at first. I don't really remember anymore. You don't cross my mind, babes. Cove nodded, accepting your response. Cove's hand drifted to the scar on his arm, his finger unconsciously gliding over the mark. It was much less noticeable than it had been when the neon paint cast had first come off, shrunken gradually over the years as his body healed, then dwarfed in comparison to his growing body. Still, his fingers came back to it without thinking. Oh, okay. He gave a half smile, not meeting your eyes. No matter what you were thinking, I doubt it was worse than what I had been going in my mind. And what did you have going in your mind, sir? You raised an eyebrow at his vague words, wondering what it was you meant. Cove lifted his head up, finally committing to meeting your eyes fully once more. I remember you that day. I remember it well. I don't think I'd ever be able to forget. I can picture the way you looked back then when I first saw you standing right here. I still know the expression in your face when you chose to sit with me in the grass. He chuckled self-derivatively, interrupting his own monologue. You scared me at first. I figured I'd be alone out here until I had to face my dad again, and suddenly another kid appeared out of nowhere. It was startling, but I got over that fast. You were a strange person in a strange place, but in that moment, you were exactly what I needed. Somebody I could talk to freely about what was happening and how it made me feel. And you listened to me. You stayed with me. He sighed, then he bit his lip as he gave a small smile. I was a bit spoiled growing up. I'm gonna let him continue. He looked off again, seeking clarity for his thoughts in the expanse of the night sky. What I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. I didn't even imagine it. It wasn't like that. Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird, according to my little kid brain. It made far more sense than everything in my life had a specific connection to me somehow, right? He saw affirmation in you, wavy brows raised as he tried to explain his childlike logic. So at the time, you almost felt unreal. Like you weren't just anyone. Some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood that you're with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cole Holden. Not to me. It says no. No, to me, you were there so you could find me when I was lost. Though it turns out you were there for that. You were trying to find me because something had sent you specifically to do that. I just didn't expect it to be my dad. I guess he knew more about what I needed than I thought. He chuckled, shaking his head as he shook off the thought. I kind of expected it all to vanish like a dream when that night was over. I would wake up and everything would be the same again. I'd be back in my bed at home, my real home, with both my parents. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. I didn't know what school would be like when I went back, or the table where I'd eat breakfast next morning, or anything. And I just couldn't imagine it. How could I think it was something actually happening? I couldn't grasp my new reality. It was too big for me to hold out all at once. So, I never thought I'd see you again. Then Cove beamed at you, his eyes shining bright. And I never ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown-up, the two of us would still be together. I wouldn't consider you a grown-up. You're like 17. He's 18, 19. But still. I didn't see things ending like this either. I'm glad This is how things went. No way, it has really been that long? Words couldn't encompass how you felt. You mimed, counting on your hands, brows furrowed in mock concentration as Cove laughed. The smile faded from his face and his eyebrows drew together. That was the worst day of my life at the time. That day my family broke apart. It was too long for me to think about. I felt that way for I don't know how long. He held a hand over his heart, connecting with the pain he'd felt as a child, and looked at you earnestly. But now everything is better. With me, and my dad, and my mom, and between the two of us. So when I remember that time, it's not the point that my life was over. It's just the day I met you. It's so great everything worked out. Yeah, I think so too. Cove sighed contentedly. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies which crowned this hill. Hey, Princeton? What, bitch? I'm so grateful you always took care of me. Oh, you're welcome. You didn't even know what to say back to that. His heartfelt appreciation left you speechless. He tilted his head up, thoughts lost in sparse clouds above. I wonder how late it is. I guess it doesn't really matter. My dad's fine with me being out whenever. You could just use your phone to check the time. Sure, I could, but I'm probably not gonna. Are you gonna lay in the grass now? Wow, how'd you know? Lucky guess, Cove. The chuckle Cove plopped down on the ground and laid on his back, his usual way of spending time there. You sat on his chest? Yes. You decided you'd rather not sit in the grass, and there was a much better seat available, and sat squarely on Cove's chest. He secretly tried to spring up, but didn't get far with you on top of him. His head flopped in the grass again, and a huff escaped him. Why are you doing this? You simply smiled down at him. Both of you fully settled and relaxed on the hill. All night I sat on his chest? That's crazy. It felt just like the beginning of one of your nightly outings. But then you realized the sun was peeking out over the horizon. Cove spoke up with a disbelieving tone. It really was late. Your neighbor wasn't a stranger to being awake at dawn, however, not like this. He was normally an early sleeper, early riser. This unexpected early sleeper, early riser. This man goes to sleep at like 1 a.m, calling me up like, "Hey, let's hang out." Girl, I don't want to hang out with you at 1 a.m. Go to bed. This unexpected sunrise particularly awed him. The two of you watched on silently as the sun began to light the world. Cove propped himself up on the backs of his arms and looked at you with a soft expression on his face. Do you want to go back home? I could carry you if you're too tired. I'd rather stay a little longer. You couldn't resist a yawn, but you were serious. It couldn't be time to go already. Cove chuckled affectionately. Okay, but it's been a long day. We've done a lot of things. Like, really, a lot. It has to end sometime. Does it really have to end? Yeah, I don't think there's anything either of us can do about that one. But we can stay if you want. I mean, you can leave. I'm good. You can head on back. Cove smiled brightly at you, as warm as the new rays of sun that were tickling your skin. In that moment, you couldn't have appreciated him more. Good night, Princeton. The two of you remained together in that familiar poppy hill where you first met, until the world began to fade and blur. You were falling asleep. A few more gentle words drifted into your consciousness. Will you see me tomorrow? Your eyelids dipped, and you felt good. You were safe and relaxed. Everything that had come before this had reassured you of that. You were confident that when you opened them again, things would be okay. You opened your eyes. Instead of walls of your rooms, you were surrounded by open sky. It was not soft pillows and sheets underneath you, but the bed of earth and grass that you'd taken last night. Imagine waking up with a cricket inside your ear. The day welcomed you with shining sun, a refreshing breeze, and the chirping song of birds. You cupped your face with your hands as you sat up, feeling the imprint of blades of grass leaving lines into your cheeks. Princeton. Hearing your name, you lowered your hands and looked around. There he was, your most influential neighbor, Cole Bolden. Okay, why are we? I feel like I've gotten this image before, but like every time it just takes me out. He had made himself very comfortable, laying on his stomach with jewelry and shoes taken off and flower in hand. Good morning. Good morning to you too. Cove laughed, tickled with the overall situation, simply being able to spend time like this. Told you I'd see you tomorrow. It's the exact same day, Cove. We were up until dawn. It doesn't make it a new day now just because we went to sleep later than normal. And then we disagreed because to me it's not really the next day until I've been to bed and woken up. But fine, I'll just have to make sure I see you tomorrow again. Probably the day after that too. There's no way that way there's no argument. Cove turned his head to the sky, his expression content. Looks like it's gonna be a nice day. You'll have to come up with something to do to make the most of it. He trod off, blinking slowly in the sunlight. Sorry, I have plans with Baxter. Someday, when we're even older than we are now, I wonder what we'll end up remembering. I wonder what we'll end up remembering this moment for. What we will feel when we look back at it. Will we be the same as what we're feeling now? I can't see what the future is going to look like again, but I think that's alright. You're way too sentimental. Pretty sure I'm going to have forgotten all about this. It'll mark another new start for me. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Cove smiled crookedly, eyeing you over his shoulder. You shouldn't have said that. Now I'm going to remember for sure, just so I can make sure you never forget even if you try. He eyed the hill sprawling out before you and down below, where the wild hill and nature gave way to civilization. Your home and coves lay down on the bottom, neatly filled among the other houses in the neighborhood. Hey, Princeton! I bet I can beat you in getting back to the road. You laughed, amused by the wager that reminded you of so many moments in your youth. As much as I like it here, it's okay if we leave now. You can always come back to see the poppies and the fireflies again, right? Cove met your eyes, waiting for what you were going to say in response. It's really going to be another nice day. You're amazing. Well, you better do that. You're not getting out of it. We'll always be together in one way or another. I might be able to manage that. Your comment quirked a wry smile from Cove. His voice was littered with mirth. You're really irreplaceable, huh? Not his toesies out. Put your foots away. What is this right here? You can't even see it. It's behind me. I'm not moving myself. Cove beamed at you. His expression was so unlike the one you'd worn when you first found him here, swaddled in sadness and uncertainty. Yet you couldn't help but glimpse the boy once more underneath his bright expression and matured features. Come on, what do you mean, come on? Where are we going? He offered you a hand and you accepted it, your palm fitting around his. Cove lifted himself up, pulling you along too. Our parents probably aren't going to come running for us this time. We got to make our own call. And I say that we can't hide away forever. Poppy Hill is just one part of things. There's more out there for us than this time and this place alone. Let's enjoy it. You couldn't say whether you were the one that broke into a run, if Cove had been the one to start it, or if your feet had simultaneously made that choice for both. The end result was the same, and the two of you dashing down the hill like children, but with a nostalgic revelry that could only come as an adult. As the wind whipped past you, you knew that family and friends were waiting at the end of the sprint. There were more memories to make after all. Life takes another step forward. Yeah, we did it. We finished adolescence. And then hopefully next time we can just one go finish it. There's mini games in this. I feel like I ask that every time. That bard. I feel like I say that every time we do this too. I don't have any commentary. We've done this how many times now? 3? What is there to say? I just want to listen to the song. Billie Jean! There's so many supporters. Love that. I was supposed to see Baxter for the last time and not be with Cove. You know what? Based off Baxter's, I don't know. Not Baxter's. Based off of Derek's DLC. That felt like it took a long time. So it might take us more than one session. But I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to 3-hour it. You know what I could do? I could talk about my birthday. So yeah, we're gonna go see a movie, and we're gonna go out to this local ramen place. But like, I don't know if I want to go to a local ramen place. Like I do, cause I like it. But I kind of want lobster bisque. I don't know why. I've never had lobster bisque in my life. But I know they don't have lobster bisque at ramen places. They got maybe at Red Lobster. But we're not allowed to go to Red Lobster. Go says it's too expensive. Oh, thank you for playing. What is this? Oh, hold on. What is this? The cloud suitcase is hitting the tower brought you back to reality. You've been zoned out in thought for some time now. How long has it been possible to guess? But you were in Baxter's room. It was almost 24 hours since the last time you've been together during the big goodbye get-together in the previous day. The scene in front of you was familiar in a way. You were standing in the corner and watching as he packed. But there was none of the franticness of excitement of a fast-approaching trip to the mountains. We have to stay for this. I thought there wasn't more, but we had to stay for this. In this moment, every motion Baxter made was slow and laborious. This was the end of the time in Sunset Bird. When the job was done, it would be finished. When you first arrived at his place, Baxter and you reminisced over a summer well spent, one over all too soon. The task of putting his things into bags were drawn out enough for all possible conversation to have been spent and a quiet to creep in. That's how you'd gotten stuck in your own head, private reflection on the person in front of you. Baxter Ward had been the harbinger of change in a tiny town, an inescapable sign that life life you'd known for nearly your entire childhood was coming to an end. But he had become your normal over the summer, and now he was going to change it all over again by going away. No! As part of you wanted to jump out of reality again. In your mind, Baxter was ever present in this room. Baxter had finished the last task before he left for good. You stared at the neatly gathered bags around Baxter's fancy black shoes. When did that happen? Your gaze drifted to his face, unsure. Baxter was watching, too, and smiling sweetly. Thank you for visiting me once more, Princeton. I am fully settled now, and it is getting late. I believe the time has come for you to return home. More accurately, but harder for Baxter to admit, it was time for him to return home. But he simply tapped a suitcase on his foot and kicked the real farewell down the road. Would you mind if I saw you out? You moved to join Baxter at the front of the room. I'd like that. The bags were left as they were for the time being as Baxter escorted you to the front door and onto the street. Not him kicking me out. You both stood there in the very place that you were first reunited. Baxter put his most agreeable smile to work. It was there, though called in on what should have been a day off. I suppose it's the most fitting place to say goodbye. It is unlikely we'll see one another again before I am gone. That was it. No going around things. This was goodbye. Hesitantly, he held his arms up for a farewell embrace. Gave him a comfortable squeeze. You pulled him into a tight squeeze. You wrapped his arms around him carefully. Offered him a handshake. What if I offered him a handshake instead? Tight squeeze. We'll miss him. He let out a mere puff when you nearly cracked his back with your powerful compression. His arms crossed over behind you, and both of his hands came to rest on your shoulders. Baxter had tied himself to you with a bow. You enjoyed every second of it. Then when you finally untangled yourself, you put just enough distance between you so you could see each other's faces. Baxter spoke again with a tenderness in his voice. It was so wonderful meeting you. This has been the best summer, best any particular season I've had in years. I'll never forget a minute of it. And I sincerely hope you will find someone who will make you happy and fulfilled. You're suited only for the best. Goodbye, Princeton. Don't say that. Why can't it be you? His features pinched unpleasantly, only for a second. Baxter exhaled slowly, smoothing out the creases in his forehead. His normal properness returned, though it was reserved. He didn't want to upset you if he could help it. I'm leaving. That was the exclamation, 2 words. Fuck you, Baxter. He said the obvious almost placatingly, a gentle reminder that somehow would make everything clear. Since you didn't convincingly look like you'd reached a complete understanding of the universe, he continued, disappointed. Princeton, I'll be on the other side of the country. You don't know where I'm going. I won't be here to give you rides or make cupcakes together or take you out for drinks. We can't sightsee or go on trips. It should go without saying. So, we can still talk and that's what matters. We can text and have calls and a bunch of things. He's breaking my heart over here. Baxter folded his arms up. Caution was quickly giving way to exasperation. I see you didn't understand me. Unfortunately, I'm having trouble following myself. Why would we? We've known each other's existence for approximately 3 months. Oh, okay, he's doing it this way. You're an asshole. And your only familiarity with me is what I've chosen to share, which is not much. You aren't a bad person if you don't go immensely out of your way to continue keeping tabs on a near stranger. It's fine to leave me be. I'm not keeping tabs. It's a normal way to interact with somebody, you know. Miranda has an older brother, Jude. He's making a long-distance situation work. The two of them haven't lived near each other for over multiple months, even though they've known each other for years. Oh, it is truly delightful to hear that, and I wish the best for Miranda's brother and his partner. Of course, my rather reasonable prediction is that it will not last. Most relationships don't. As for me, in terms of us, unfortunately, I've quite run out of anything to say. He shot you down entirely, not giving in a single centimeter towards compromise. It left you stunned. What happened? Baxter could be hard on himself, but never others. Since when had he been someone so cynical? Glibness! That's a word I've never seen before. That defeated you. You were heartbroken at his dismissal. You still didn't want to give up. It made you numb. If that's how he felt, you didn't mind. He clearly wanted to go. If that's how he felt, you would live with it. I'm heartbroken. The only part of you that wasn't frozen solid was the heart pounding painfully in your ear. Baxter wrinked his fingers through his hair. The tiny white and black strips were all messed up. I would have preferred it if it had been an enjoyable time having my company while I happened to be here. That was the intention. It seems I've ruined that on the whole. I accept the blame for that. If I had been behaved better, this wouldn't have come to a close on such an abhorrent note. However, I am not an irreplaceable part of your life. I was a tourist, a novelty, and no, I'm not even that, so don't bother with this. This man is heartless. Everywhere was poisonlessly mocking. No more effort could be spared, to put it politely. You heard his opinion on himself laid bare. It was terrible. Oh! No, we getting this ending. No. He turned his back to you, beginning the process of separation promptly. Baxter only spoke over his shoulder. Don't speak. I don't want to hear it anymore. You can keep whatever words you're gonna say to me. I genuinely am sorry, Princeton. If I could take back these days, I would. At the very least, I can promise I will never cause this kind of trouble for you again. That's crazy. That's crazy. He was serious. This was the end of the line for his association with you. You looked into Baxter's obscured face for the last time and... I don't know what expression I'm making. Nazi Victorian evil man. Have a nice life, Baxter. It doesn't have to be this way. Baxter didn't. He I'm heated. He did not have to do that. He didn't have to say those words. He could have let me down gently. But he really was like, no, you need to hear these words like this. Baxter didn't say anything else. He didn't react. He only stepped forward and closed the door to his rented condo. He was gone. And you turned to your actual friends. They were always there for you, no matter what. That was something a person like him might never understand. But ever a man of his word, you didn't see Baxter Ward again. Here you can choose which epilogue to play. Note, you can only play one and then the game will end. Enjoy. I'm gonna cry. It's not that serious. It's a game. It's not that serious. It's a game. My feelings hurt. My feelings are hurt. Okay. Thank you for joining me. Next time I stream, I don't know the next time I'll stream. I don't know what I'll stream the next time I stream. But I will stream the next time I stream. So, stay tuned for that. Other than that, next time we play this again, I'm gonna try to knock out the whole epilogue in one go. But if I can't, I can't. I hope you understand. And yeah, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing your support in any way you can. Hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. And I hope to see you in the next stream. Bye.